Oh.
That's all I can.
We're up on the.
No, unless they.
How are you? I am wonderful. How are you? Good? Good.
All right. There you go, sir. Best of luck. Yeah. Wednesday? Yeah, sounds great. Looking forward to it. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, we're excited.
I'm muted. Oh, so you're. Yeah, I know that.
And so this fiber, back is around. It's not supposed to.
Most marathon is the same time.
Yeah, you're not showing up. No, we probably have to come back.
I did notice Yeah, no, it's, so we'll get the invite. They're not coming today. They said that even with the lead time they had, they couldn't coordinate with municipalities.
Think it'll take 2 months? Take 6.
Last time they really recommended. We should be planning out in advance ahead if you
I'm glad you got those errors on the CIP draft.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's not already done. Feel free if you're ready right now. George is happy with So the awkward PTO, you'll probably see it.
We made changes. We need to date. Yeah. So we know what we're- Yeah, he mentioned it to me.
All right, it's 6:30 PM. I will call to order the Village Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, January 5th, 2026. Will the clerk give the roll call, please?
President Harrell.
Present.
Trustee Bartholomew.
Here.
Trustee Uman.
Here.
Trustee Wright.
Present.
Trustee Franzen. Here. And Trustee Russell. Trustee Russell.
You're muted right now, Steve, if you're there. All right. Well, we'll see if we hear from Trustee Russell, who is attending remotely, maybe away from the keyboard at the moment, but we do have a quorum with or without him. So with that, I invite everyone present to please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, without objection, Chair would like to move item 12B, the oath of office for promotion from officer to lieutenant for Daniel Hammett, up in the agenda to right now. Is there any objection from trustees? No. All right, so with that, I give the floor to our Chief of Police, Justin Tim, to introduce that.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate everyone taking the time today to be here and everybody in the audience. Last month, we were fortunate enough to finish up our interviews and send a conditional offer to Officer Hammett to be promoted to lieutenant. So that is what we will be doing tonight with the oath of office. Officer Hammett, soon to be Lieutenant Hammett, has over 20 years of law enforcement experience here within the Walworth County area. He's been with us this time a little over 2 years, or a little over a year, and we're very happy, very proud to have him on this squad and to be a part of this team. A known leader, even within the patrol department now. We're excited. As true tradition goes, we will have the oath of office. Then I will go up, unpin the officer badge from him, and hand over the pin of the lieutenant badge to a person of his choosing, who will then pin his new lieutenant badge on him.
Just raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Daniel Hammett,
having been appointed to the office of police lieutenant,
having been appointed to the office of police lieutenant,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but not yet have entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully discharge the duties of this office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
I will get you a copy and I'll check it.
Oh, everybody. Thanks for doing this one. Thank you. You don't need to put the bottom part. Thank you. Look forward to serving you, continue to serve you. So I appreciate it. I'll just introduce my family's all here, my grandson, son, daughter-in-law, son-in-law. Maureen, I guess I'm not really gonna disclose anything. She followed in my footsteps. She's actually a police officer. I guess not to give up too much information, but it's in the area. But, and my fellow teammates that I work with now, that's why I look at them more as not just, as they're my subordinates. I look at them as they're my teammates. And that's what we're gonna be. We're gonna be a team. My leadership is just here to help them, make them better, and eventually, hopefully someday replace me. So, I know, but thank you. Thank you, President.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Lieutenant Daniel Hammett and his family and his friends. And we wish you best of luck in your new role.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to item 5 is going to be the approval of the village board meeting minutes from December 15th, 2025. Chair would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the village board meeting minutes of December 15, 2025 as corrected. Second, right.
All right, there's a first and a second on the motion to approve the minutes from December 15th. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes?
There's just one correction, or two. The, in section number 11, ordinance and resolutions, vote A and B, we got the votes. There were some no votes. But the minute says it was unanimously carried.
If it has been corrected?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it right, Tina? Okay. Any other questions? All right, so all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected, please vote aye. Aye. Any opposed, vote no. Motion carries. So check. Trustee Russell, are you with us yet? Okay. At this time, we'll have our first opportunity for public comments. So if you're interested in sharing a comment to the village board this time, please stand up to the lectern, say your full name and address, and your comment that you have to share. All right. Not seeing anyone coming up at this time. There will be one other opportunity towards the end of this section of the meeting to share public comments. So with that, we'll move on to the next item. That'll be the presentation of accounts and petitions, and our Finance and Personnel Chair, Trustee Wright, will take this.
Thank you, President Paramio. I present first for board approval, the report of payroll ending 12/12/2025, amount of $53,885.11.
All right, there's a first and a second on the motion to approve the payroll ending 12/12/25. Any questions on the motion?
Maybe for Wayne, one. We
Please.
had a large amount of overtime in that period. Huh?
Snow.
Public works.
Snow.
Snow, it's not just the snow.
So the question to Public Works Director Wayne was that,
You,
I would have to look at it, but yeah, I would guess snow.
this is snow, all of that, okay.
snow removal. Any other questions? All right, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote no. Motion carries.
Second, I present for board approval the report of payroll ending 12/26/2025, amount of $54,348.68.
All right, there's a first and a second on the motion to approve payroll ending 12/26/25. Any questions on this motion? All in favor of the motion, please vote aye. Any opposed, vote no. Motion carries.
Then finally, I present for board approval the report of accounts payable unpaid stated 12/31/2025, amount of $306,446.26.
There's a first and a second on the motion to approve the accounts payable unpaid stated 12/31/25. Any questions on this motion? All in favor, please vote aye. Any opposed, vote no. And that motion carries.
Thank you, President Hermia. That's all I have.
Thank you, trustee Wright. Item 8 on the agenda is the president's remarks. I did want to say that the big quarterly newsletter is available online on the village website. The department heads and some other people take a lot of time to get a lot of good information into that document. So please take time to learn what's in there. We'll move on to item 9, Plan Commission. We have one item from the Plan Commission meeting of December 2nd, 2025. And that's the discussion and possible action on a site plan approval for section 390-1206 and 390-1604 to modify and expand an existing parking lot for Paloma C. That's the Lodge Geneva National, 40 Highway 50, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 47. This item is basically a reconfiguration of their parking lot layout. From my recollection, I don't think it adds any parking spaces, just moves them around. And this was recommended for approval unanimously by the Plan Commission. So Chair would look for a motion.
I move that we approve the site plan for Geneva National Lodge for section 390-1206 and 390-1704.
Second, Franzen.
All right, there's a first and a second on the motion to approve that site plan. Are there any questions or comments on the motion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please vote aye. Any opposed, vote no. And the motion carries. All right, item 10 is ordinances and resolutions. We have one item, and our Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Chair, Trustee Franzen, will introduce that item.
Thank you, President Hermia. So 2025-14 is an ordinance providing for direct annexation by unanimous consent of electors and property owners of territory located in the town of Geneva, Walworth County, Wisconsin, and the town of Lynn, Walworth County, to the village of Williams Bay, Walworth County, Wisconsin. The Plan Commission recommended approval of the annexation and temporary zoning. The village board approved the first reading during the December 15th meeting. So I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-14, providing for direct annexation by unanimous consent of that property to Williams Bay, approving that an annexation and temporary zoning for Willow Bay Meadows subdivision.
I'll second that.
All right, so there is a first and a second on the motion to approve the second ordinance reading of second reading of ordinance, thank you, trustee Ewan, of ordinance 2025-14. Any questions on that motion? All right, we do a roll call vote, Tina?
President Hermia,
Aye.
trustee Bartholomew. No. Trustee Human,
Aye.
trustee Wright,
Aye.
trustee Franzen,
No.
and trustee Russell.
Consulting with our attorney is that, Mark, I don't think, do we need 2/3 on that vote?
This is on the, I just was able to join, so this is in reference to
The second reading for ordinance 2025-14.
The annexation ordinance.
Is that correct? Our clerk is saying that we needed 2/3 for
No,
that?
I'm saying he's correct, it's annexation.
Okay.
We have 2/3.
Do we, 2/3 of present, right?
2/3 are present.
2/3 of present. I'm sorry. We have the 2/3, Mark. I'm doing the math wrong here in my head. So then we're okay. That motion carries then. Sorry about that. Thought we were working with 7.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt.
Okay, there's a motion to adopt. Do we have a second?
Second, right?
There's a first and a second on the motion to adopt ordinance 2025-14. Any discussion on the motion? Will the clerk give the roll call again, please?
President Haramia,
Aye.
trustee Bartholomew. No. Trustee Humans,
Aye.
trustee Wright,
Aye.
trustee Franzen,
No.
and trustee Russell.
All right, and that motion does carry 4-2 by 2/3 margin, so the ordinance is adopted. All right. Thank you, trustee Franzen. Next item, it will be item 11. This is going to be the final opportunity this evening for public comments. So if you do have a public comment you'd like to share, this will be your last chance this evening to come up to the lectern, say your full name, your address, and your comment or question. Dr. John.
Just a quick moment. I'm John Perryman. I'm running to be a representative of the Assembly. I appreciate the chance to talk to several of you, and we'll be talking to you in the future. I just want to say thank you again, reaching out to hear what your concerns are with the state government. Obviously, I'll be knocking on many of your doors over the next month, so please bear with me. I know it's okay to answer the door, but I do want to hear from everyone about their concerns, and I'm ready to be a representative of the Assembly. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Perryman. Any other public comments? Yep, Mr. House?
Good evening. Tim Hallis, 134 Elmhurst Court. I just have a question. Can somebody read back the vote on that last, on the annexation?
Yeah, the clerk, you want to?
For the second reading or the adoption,
Yeah, whatever. So when you did the roll call,
there were 2 votes. Are you looking for the second reading or the adoption?
I heard Susan, trustee Franzen voted no. And did Mary, did you vote no?
I voted no.
No, so, and if I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 2 and 3, so you need 3 out of
We
5.
have 6 because
Yeah.
trustee Russell is.
Oh, okay.
So it was a 4-2 vote on both of those votes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just wanted to make sure.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the
It's very-
attorney as well, sir.
It's very hard to hear that on.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. House. Any other public comments at this time? We do offer public comments at all of our village board meetings, so you'll be able to come up with anything, come and share it in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks and 1 day when we meet again on the 20th. All right, with that, we'll move to item 12, other items for discussion, consideration, or action. We have 1 item remaining in this section now, and that's the discussion and possible action on the application for a Class B beer and Class B liquor license from Big Daddy's LLC, that's doing business as Daddy Maxwell's. I guess I would just ask the chief, we have all the application in, and or the clerk, I guess, you're both kind of, so it's a complete application.
And
Okay.
background check was done.
Background check was done. So as chair would look for a motion.
I move to recommend approval of a Class B beer and Class B liquor application from Big Daddy's LLC, doing business as Daddy Maxwell's. Second Bartholomew.
All right, there's a first and a second on the motion to approve the Class B beer and Class B liquor license. Any questions or comments on the motion?
I do.
Yes, trustee Lewis.
So I was thinking about that and actually sent a note to Dave on December 2nd. And then asked them to check with legal. And my question was, are we legally obligated to award this license just because it's required? My thinking there was, we currently have empty business space downtown. It is possible for another restaurant that might occupy one of those spaces in the future. If we award the last license, we effectively kill another restaurant from moving downtown. And so the answer I got, the short answer we got from Mark Schroeder, our attorney, is that we are not legally obligated to issue a Class B liquor license just because it's requested. So my point here is, I don't see any reason to rush into this. We might want to get another restaurant, that will take away, we have we have one restaurant maybe that is under consideration. And the old Travado building, that there is a license for that restaurant already. So if we give this one away to Daddy Maxwell, we have no option to give it to anybody else in the big building on Geneva Street. And I don't know what is going in there or what the plans are. I have no idea. I don't want to sit on this forever, but I also don't, on this license, but I also don't feel it's right to make a quick decision and give it to Daddy Maxwell, just like that.
Question, I'm a little confused, because is there a license attached to the old Pravado?
There is, but he has to turn it in, and then the village board will have to, correct me if I'm wrong, and then the village board will have to decide if it goes back to Pravado or somebody else.
Okay. I wasn't aware if there was another license there.
So he can't transfer it. I mean, we've transferred
It still has to be
licenses
approved.
before, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that I see any reason to not grant it, based on a possibility of somebody in the future when we have a local business that, is asking for it.
Well, it's my hope we call them in one day and go like, hey, what are we doing here? What are you doing? And maybe apply some pressure on them or see if we can help them. We cannot have that building stand empty forever. He owned the grassy land where the green grocer was, and it was sitting like that for 10 years.
You're talking about the Pravado building.
No, not the Prugala building, the other building, that is owned by Barry Klug. Where the green grocer was.
I just feel like the hypothetical, it doesn't, I don't know, we have an actual existing business that's been in this town, in one shape or the other for decades. And they're coming before us and asking for us to approve a liquor license for them. It might make the difference between them staying in business or not staying in business. So, I mean, hypothetically speaking, we don't know, right? So I would rather vote for in favor of this to business that actually is here now and has potential to stay here for probably the next generation. So to me, that's a safer bet than a hypothetical about somebody coming in or trying to help somebody out, or I don't know, in the future. So I will vote for this, yes.
Any other comment from trustees? I would state that this was a question I had, as chair had as well, whether we were obligated, and I learned that we in fact have the right, if we wanted to give this license to a nearby municipality to increase the number of licenses they have. Now, that's something I would never want to do. They've got to hold on to it with a death grip. I'm tending to agree with trustee Bartholomew that we have a business that's open right now, and hypotheticals are hypotheticals. And in a sense, we're kind of punishing businesses that are open to reward someone that's staying vacant. So those are chair's feelings on it.
Can I open up one other point? This, to me, suggests that maybe we need tighter methodology here. We need a process maybe in place. Because now, this kind of like, oh, shouldn't we do it? How do we go about making this decision? I would like, as a new trustee member, I would really like to have a protocol in place that I would be following that would help me understand the method by which we go through to do this. Because this way of, shouldn't we, hypotheticals, it to me is not really a good way to conduct our decision-making process here. So just mentioning that to
Well, and that was my concern when it came before committee, was we did not have a process in place, any criteria for making a decision, and at that time we had 2 applicants, now we have 1. And I didn't, without a process, I wasn't comfortable making a recommendation for one or the
Yeah.
other. But now that there is just 1, and, I did talk to the owners of Daddy Maxwell, they want to be able to serve Bloody Marys and Bellinis for breakfast. They want to be able to do Friday night fish fries, and possibly open up for dinner service. So I think that they've got plans to expand their service, and I don't know that we want to hold them back from that.
Could explore putting in an actual longer protocol, but seems right now the protocol is it comes to the board, we discuss it, and we vote on it.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
kind of what we're elected to do, so.
But I think
agree, yeah.
there should be criteria that says whether it's the first applicant to come in, or it's based on the perceived value to the community, or the length that that it's been in operation. I mean, I think there's some criteria that I would suggest we take a look at.
And in addition to that, I would say too, a larger entity with lots of money that maybe has a full-time employee that's devoted to this kind of thing versus a mom and pop restaurant, that doesn't have that kind of ability. I would like to see a more level playing field in that regard as well. So those would be things that I'd be interested in looking on.
If there's nothing else, the motion before us is to approve the liquor license application from Big Daddy's LLC doing business as Daddy Maxwell's right now. So if there's no further discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve the liquor license applications, please vote aye.
Uh,
Any opposed, vote no.
No.
Right, and that is gonna be 5-1, and that motion does carry. All right, we did the oath of office already, so Chair would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, right?
Second, Bartholomew?
The first and a second on the motion to adjourn, all in favor, please vote aye. Any opposed, vote no. So now I'd like to call to order the joint meeting of the Village Board, Committee of the Whole and Committees on Monday, January 5th, 2026. Will clerk give the roll again, please?
President Hermio,
Present?
trustee Bartholomew,
Here.
trustee Newman,
Here.
trustee Wright,
Present.
trustee Franklin,
Here.
trustee Russell.
He did say here,
He did.
and it is quiet. There you go. All right, with that, we do have one set of minutes from the joint Village Board Committee of the Whole and Committees meeting of December 1st, 2025. Chair would look for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the joint village board meeting, committee of the whole and committee meeting minutes of December 1st, 2025.
Second, Bartholomew?
All right, we have the first and a second on the motion to approve that set of minutes. Any questions, comments, or corrections to these minutes? All in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote no. Motion carries. So for those watching at home and in the audience, now we're going to go through committee by committee. We have 6 committees in whole. The chair of that committee will call their meeting to order and then run that section of the meeting. There might be some votes, and you'll see how, hey, not everyone up there is voting. That's because each committee only has 3 members. So there are people up here that aren't on that committee and won't be voting in those votes. So just kind of explain how we do things here. So the first up is going to be our Streets and Highways Committee, and that's going to be Trustee Bartholomew, please.
Thank you, President Hermel. I call the Streets and Highway Committee to order and note roll call that trustees Bartholomew and Wright are present and trustee Black is absent. Our first item is no longer going to be discussed tonight. It was discussion and possible action on request for temporary road closures for the Lake Geneva Marathon in October of 26. That has been taken off our list due to the fact that they have reconsidered the date and are now canceling that event for the short-term future. Maybe we'll get back on our list later. So for now, I think they realize that there's just a lot of hassles with so many different municipalities. You're running around the lake, you go through a lot of different communities, and so they needed conditional kind of permits for all those different places. It became a little bit more arduous than we were expecting. Our second item is discussion of possible action on 2024 street rehabilitation project change orders. And I'm wondering if our engineer would like to talk to us about this.
Thank you. What I have, or what's in your packet tonight is a December 22nd, 2025 letter from myself to the contractor. And there should be a response dated January 1st, 2026 from the contractor. So what I want right now, this project is past completion and it appears to be at a standstill. The contractor has achieved substantial completion, but not completion. So what he needs to achieve completion is he needs to be able to give you unconditional lien waivers and be ready for final payment. And that's where I want to get to. Now, some of these may or may not involve change orders. So I don't necessarily want to talk about change orders tonight, but I want to talk about a path forward and options to a path forward. In my letter, I have 3 of them that follow the contract. In the letter from Rock Road dated January 1st, they offer another solution that doesn't follow the contract. My hope is that we will follow the contract, but I do like one item in that January 1st letter from Rock Road, and that is for the restoration of Lakewood trails. I would like to make it part of the warranty if I can get them to completion, and to get the lien waivers and to get the final payment. I would like to make that part of the warranty so that they can do it. We can close the contract now and finish the work in the spring. And it'll be covered under their 1-year warranty. After they do it, all I need to do is have them provide that specific in their warranty letter to me. So what I'm looking for is the closeout documents so that we can close this job out. So I need a final payment application, I need lien waivers, I need consent from their surety that everything is good to close this contract out. I need a warranty letter from them for a year from final completion, and I need a warranty bond for 10% of the value of the contract. That's what I'm looking for. There's 3 options to do that. Number 1, Rock Road provides the remaining contract items, including an unconditional lien waiver. That's the most important part. So he's gonna provide unconditional lien waivers from all the subs and from himself, and he's gonna put himself at the mercy of the village board on, as to whether or not you want to charge liquidated damages. Now, as part of that, they want, I don't know if you know it, but we approved 1 change order for this job, and that was for the striping on Cedar Point Drive for $13,000. They have a total of $73,000 of change orders that they want, that not necessarily approved. The only one of those is approved, that they want to include with the final pay request. But I want that to come in front of you with an unconditional lien waiver so that you can take action at that. So item 1 is my preference. Give them until the 23rd of January to get you a final pay request. The only way I would change that is allow them to put the the Lakewood Trails into the warranty item rather than the contract. The second item is, after the 23rd, I would have you issue a letter to the bonding company saying we're declaring your contractor in default. We have to give them notice that we're declaring them in default. The bonding company will set up a meeting. They will basically take over the whole finances for it and pull Rock Road out of it. They need to provide all the contract items as part of their bond. a performance bond and a payment bond. And the last item, or the last option, as I see it, there's a change order 5 there that has a set amount of liquidated damages based upon, I believe it's today's date versus the contract date that they would sign. That would reduce the contract price by $85,000 and then give you an unconditional lien waiver. Again, 3 options that follow the contract. What I would like to do is ask you to tell me to use option 1 and put them at your mercy so that you can decide how much of that 60 grand extra that you want to pay. You'll at least get to see the numbers for it and make your decision at the final payment. If they don't respond or provide it by the 23rd, I'm going to ask you to follow option 2.
So can I just ask, so the 60,000 includes, approximately 28,000 for, Lakewood Trails milling versus pulverizing?
Yeah, there's a discrepancy or let's just say, not an argument, but, we don't believe the pricing is fair for what you actually got. So yes, they are asking for that. It's, they're also, making that part of why they're not delivering the final product to you. So I want to force that hand to closure so that you can make that decision later.
Because the difference is approximately $14,000. So they contend in his letter to you that the reason for that is because of the variation in terrain, that it was more than just a mill and it required more than that.
Parts of that are true, but we independently looked at it. We don't believe that they put any extra labor involved in any of it. But we're willing to give in some to get this contract closed.
And then, to go on from there, so then approximately 15,000 is for the Lakewood shoulder restoration.
Yeah, that's
Is
part
that
of the
done?
that's part of the contract.
That's completed though, so.
No, the
That's
Lakewood Shoulders is not done yet.
That was part of the contract.
But I thought that that
Part of the contract.
was one of the things that he said in his letter to you,
They-
is that it was done and that it got okay, that.
No.
And then the third thing is the culvert at Cedar Point Drive and East Geneva Street.
Yep, that was all.
Approximately 17,000, and that there was, the difference there was basically $4,800, which I think from his letter, it sounds like that was the remobilization, that the crew left because there was some concern about.
That's means and methods right there. And part of that is because they didn't do their exploratory work before they mobilized. So this is all part of means and methods. And we had pay items for that particular part of the project.
So it comes down to a discrepancy, basically, from what they're saying. I take off the 13,000 for the Cedar Point striping, so 60,000 for us approximately. So it's a difference of about $19,000
Yeah,
between what they're asking and what we're.
Yes, but you're a little bit too far into it. It's whether we follow the contract or we don't follow the contract. I want them to follow the contract, and I want you to have that option under option 1. After they get you lien waivers. Right now, they're holding you hostage for lien waivers. They have contractors out there that they haven't paid. The work is done.
Yeah.
And, they want you to agree to something before they even pay their subs.
No way. Well, I was inclined coming into this meeting to go for option 2 right off the bat. This project's been going on for half of forever. We spent way too much time debating and looking at it. I was ready to go with option 2, but if you think we can get with option 1 with option 2 as a backup, if in option 1 you can get the warranty on the shoulder that you need,
Full contract.
then I guess I would be in favor of waiting until January 23rd to see if that happens.
Maybe in 3 weeks and see what happens. Me too. So.
Is that enough direction?
Do we need?
Yeah, it's enough direction.
Okay, we don't need to vote on this at all, right? That's fine. Thank you.
But they need to know that I'm willing to go for option 2 at the slightest hint that they're not gonna comply.
And Trustee Black isn't here tonight, so. They're getting off easy.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, we go back to my item files here and see what else we have. I think that's it though for us.
I move to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you, trustee Bartholomew. The next will be the Corrective Services Committee. Our chair, trustee Block, isn't here today, so we're gonna have trustee Umans handle this.
I'll call over the Protective Service Committee. Trustee Black is not here, but trustee Franson and myself are. So first item is item C, what has to do with the Lake Geneva Marathon, which was canceled, so we'll skip that one. The next item on the agenda is discussion and is item D, discussion and possible action on the Village of Golden Bay Election Day Emergency Preparedness and Contingency Plan. Actually, for the discussion, I read through the whole thing.
So did I.
Yeah. I thought, and I think mainly Tina deserves a lot of compliments for that. I thought it was excellent, actually. I didn't really see what else needed to be, I don't know what else to add. It seemed like there's a lot in there. So I don't know what is it that we want to discuss? Do we have to approve this or Dave?
I think it's informational.
It's informational.
If you have questions or concerns about, it, otherwise that's the plan that will be followed.
Yeah.
But your notes say motion recommending approval.
It certainly isn't going to hurt. I don't know what the requirements are of it being formally adopted, because I don't believe that we've ever adopted a plan like this, so this might be something new that I'm just not familiar with. But
I do have to submit it to Wisconsin Elections. So this is I mean, if you're in agreement, then this is what will be submitted to Wisconsin Elections, that we are going to follow this plan. So I wanted it before the board, before something I created went to Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin.
Okay, this is coming up later on in the village board meeting or not?
Let's see.
Are you comfortable if this is a doable plan, Tina? I mean, if the sky falls? Okay.
I think it's very comprehensive.
Are there any incremental costs attached to this plan?
No.
Other than
Unless the
police
sky falls?
department staff,
Okay.
public works staff,
And during,
obviously there's staff time.
and during the elections, you are the village, your title, then is the only title is the village clerk. Right, okay. Okay, I don't see any, so I'll make a motion to approve, to recommend approval to the village board for the, Golden Bay Election Emergency Preparedness and Contingency Plan.
Second, Franzen.
Okay, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. There's a few of us. Wait, Chief? You're up.
All right. So just excuse me, a quick recap for 2025. We did come in slightly above our call volume for 2024. 956 calls for the year, up about 50 or 60 calls from the previous year. Another successful year working with Williams Bay. And looking forward to the future, I did want to recognize the police department. They responded with us on a cardiac arrest call last month. It was a successful resuscitation and regaining a pulse pack and transporting the patient. Police responded first with us, established CPR, and did an incredible job on that call as well. So I just want to recognize their efforts on that. And supporting 2026 and moving forward, we're very supportive of the overnight staffing that'll be discussed later. and providing 24-hour service in Williams Bay, and looking forward to that coming in the future. And the other thing we are doing in 2026 is we're adding a 5th overnight position. So currently we staff 4 personnel at night and 5 to 6 during the day. We are going to be staffing an additional part-time position overnight. So a little bit saves us quite a bit on the benefits side of that. We are adding an additional position overnight to serve, all 3 communities. Other than that, any questions you have on the reports, I'm happy to answer.
I have one question. So in your total numbers for Fontana and in Williams Bay, the mutual aid were 10 or 14%.
Yep.
And my question is, where is your comfort level or if it goes too high? To me, if it goes too high, does that then mean less service for Fontana and Williams Bay? Or are you prepared for this to go higher? Because it has been creeping up a little bit.
Yeah, so we look at those, and they vary as the needs go. So obviously, what we try to do is make sure that it is mutual. So in the case that where the aid given and the aid received to different communities is similar. So if we have a larger incident, such as a vehicle accident with multiple patients, or a structure fire, or hazardous materials, we bring in a lot of outside resources for that. So we're accepting mutual aid for those. And in return, we're also giving mutual aid when our neighbors have those similar types of incidents. What we do watch out for very closely is when we are covering neighbors, for their primary response area. So that was something that we had brought to the board regarding the village of Walworth in 2023. That they were requesting some assistance until they went to referendum. Their referendum did pass, and they've been able that shift has already transitioned to the point where they're the numbers are much more equal than they were over that year that we provided that assistance. So it is something we look at, but there is give and take. The plan is to make sure that the aid is mutual, that we're accepting and giving the similar amount.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes. Anything else?
Any other questions?
I just want to recognize your continued ability to staff appropriately. The staffing report is awesome.
Thank you. Everything is going well, and we're looking forward to add that 5th position for next year. It's going to make a big difference for the overnight hours.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, next items are for the police chief, monthly reports and the monthly number.
Thank you. You should have in front of you the monthly numbers from this year. I do not have the comparisons from 2024. Looking forward to presenting that at the February meeting with our year in review. We had the opportunity to work with Fontana Fire with a cold water rescue training that was just conducted yesterday. So that went well. Worked out well for us. So the cold water suits are working well, keeping our officers dry and relatively warm. Currently working on the lieutenant onboarding, as well as you guys were part of earlier. We're going to be making sure a smooth transition with Lieutenant Hammett is done. And then also we are working to get through Officer or Miss Liegel's background. With the holidays, there was some hold off getting in touch with her, some of her references, as well as doing some of the physical and psych, which we knew was going to happen. So hoping to have something to you by the next board meeting.
Are there any questions for the chief?
Can I ask you? What is bank run for this year?
Well, that's going to be going away. So that's when we actually provide that service to the village. We get the money from the village, and then we take it down to the bank for them to ensure the safe transport of the funds. Unfortunately, now with it moving, we'll be no longer being able to provide that.
Thank you.
How will the money get to the bank now that they've moved? Jennifer?
It'll be rotating probably between the two that don't do the deposit, Dave and Tina. They're gonna have to make a special run for cash. Checks get scanned here, so that's very nice. We'll be making a special run for cash in Dolan
Certainly,
Township.
certainly speaks to the benefit of going cashless.
It certainly does.
Any other questions?
Because over the holiday, we lost one of our signs downtown. I don't know if you guys all saw that. The parking sign for the U parking got hit by something. And Christmas, it's down. Was it the only damage we had?
That I noticed, yeah. Did you see anything else? I think that's it. Okay.
Just thanks to you and your officers, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, that being done, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
For a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
All right, thank you, trustee Umans. And now we'll go to the Water and Sewer Committee, which will be trustee Umans again, please.
Yeah, okay, so, is trustee Russell still on?
Yes.
Steve, are you still on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. So, this is for trustee Russell, Bartholomew, and for me. So we're here. First item on the agenda is item number C, discussion of potential action on an exclusive easement by the Village of Williams Bay Land Lease and TDS Metrocom LLC for fiber optics lease on village water well pump house property located in the southeast corner of William Street and Olive Street. So I hope you guys have a chance to look at that, exactly where that is. I have a little picture of it. So this is the area.
Drove by on my way here.
Where you see the X2 is where the pumping station is. And so it's just a little, like an air conditioner kind of a type of a thing that goes in there. And then, all we need to do is approve it. We get they give us $5,000 and as a payment for that. And then they're laying the optic fiber. So we checked with the village engineer, with Lee, everybody, and eventually on that property, we were gonna have, we're talking 10 years down the road, maybe, well number 4. There's plenty of room, so this is not gonna be in the way, so we should have no objections to this. So I'll make a motion to approve. Second, Bartholomew.
Can I ask a question, Rob?
Okay.
A question for either, I guess either for Mark Schrader or for Dave Lenspike. Will there be future or subsequent approval of TDS Metrocom laying cable in the village?
I don't believe so. I believe that any work that they're doing within the public right of way is permitted by the state.
Will there, my understanding or my belief is that there are franchise agreements with existing providers under which they pay us a fee for being a provider of telecommunications service, as in Spectrum or their predecessor. Shouldn't there be such an agreement with TDS?
I can speak.
Oh, okay. You hear me?
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, sorry.
So, good evening. I'm Bruce Shedd with TDS Telecom out of Madison, Wisconsin. I am here to really kind of walk you through the fiber program as well as answer the question that you have regarding the franchise fee. So to take that real quick, Wisconsin is a state franchise. So all we do is add the city or the village of Williams Bay to the franchise. And then you're right, you get 5% of all our video customers that we get. So all the revenue that we get from video customers here in Williams Bay, the city gets 5% of that.
And do we need a separate agreement for that, or do we somehow piggyback on the state?
No, it's on the state, it's a state franchise.
Thank you.
So, since Sean is here as well, he's part of the easement. I didn't know if there was any questions before I get into just kind of really walking you through the fiber program, what it means to communications and all that. I didn't know if you had any questions regarding the easement moving forward. If not, I can go ahead and proceed.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. So again, thank you again for the time. I can just say we're truly excited to be bringing our fiber network to the village. We've been doing this for, I guess now since 2017. And I'm not sure if you're following along in the package itself, but I'll present. Typically it's on the screen, but I understand you guys have a Teams meeting as part of this. So again, Bruce Shedd, I'm the manager of our business development for our out of territory expansion for the United States. So I do this throughout the country. A little bit of history. We're going to talk about TDS, how we started this. We'll talk about the benefits to the village here. We'll get into the construction because obviously I think that's a big concern. We know that construction can be a little bit disruptive, but we're going to do our best, obviously, to address those concerns of residents and make sure we're doing right by the city in alignment, because we like to really call this a partnership. So if you are following along, TDS. So we're TDS Telecom, located in Madison, Wisconsin. Our parent company is TDS Corporate out of Chicago, Illinois. We have a sister company called Array. Not sure if you're familiar, but TDS used to own a company called US Cellular. And last year, we actually sold US Cellular to T-Mobile. So it was about the third quarter of 2025 when we made that, finally that sale went through. We have a sister company called Array. Now Array is a satellite or a towers company. So we did keep some of the towers that we had with US Cellular, and we transferred that to a company now that we call Array. We are a publicly traded organization on the New York Stock Exchange. And we like to say, although publicly traded, we're family owned. And we say family owned because really the majority of the stock is owned by the Carlson family, who started TDS about 56, 57 years ago. So TDS is the 7th largest wireline communications company in the United States. We offer 3 products: broadband, a video, and a voice. We also now have come into the mobile part, but it's not really part of it, but just as an awareness, you will probably also start hearing about them a little more as we come into the community. We recently, in 2025, we passed what we call the 1 million fiber passing club, meaning that throughout the United States, over 1,000 or over 1 million addresses have the opportunity to get our fiber product. So that's a club that we take a lot of pride in, and it was definitely a milestone for the organization. We have about 34 associates throughout the U.S.
How do you,
34,000.
you have a million houses you pass? I assume your competitor passes those houses too. How do you win business?
I think we win business just like anything. You market your product. I think, and I'll talk a little bit about it, but I think what you'll see with TDS a little bit different. And I never badmouth my competitors because I think competition is good.
They do it themselves.
It equals the playing field. But I think what we do, what I would say, the position us and gives us a little bit of an advantage is how we really localize our build within the community. So it's not about just our products and service. It's also about how we integrate, how we leverage that, how we work, and again, I'll talk to that, but how we work with local chamber of commerce, local business is important. How we get behind a lot of events and sponsorships and things that go on in the market. So we say we like to out-localize our competition.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you, and then I think we're price competitive, and obviously me being biased, but not just being biased, I think we have a better product. So TDS, if you are looking at the screen, we're in about 34, 35 states throughout the United States. If you do see this map, the dark blue represents what we call ILEC, meaning the incumbent local exchange carrier, which is the formal term for telephone company. And then the blue, just light blue, represents the states where we are. So we talked a little bit about this deployment strategy. We had 2 strategies, and it was really aggressive strategies. One was overbuilding in our existing footprints. And that's really going in, taking out copper and putting in fiber. So we're taking out money-making, revenue-generating properties, removing that, putting in fiber, because we know that's going to be the best product, and obviously going to give you faster speeds as you with working from home and just, obviously I'll have people gaming, just a number of different things with the internet is being used for. And then secondly, in greenfield spaces. So again, just providing that opportunity to continue to build on, replacing fiber where needed, adding new fiber where there's not. Obviously, coming here to Williams Bay would be a new opportunity for us. And one of the things that I will say, what we found when we go into communities, our take rate is about 50% when we start off. So you talk about competitive here. Again, the customer really gets to see who we are and how we operate. Again, we're not perfect, and I would never get up here and tell anybody here that we're perfect and that we're not gonna have any hiccups or whatnot. But one of the things I will say is that we're not negligent in what we do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, like I said, we offer 3 products, and we do, like most companies, we put them on what we call a promotional opportunity. So you can have a double play or triple play, you know, and obviously you get promotions based on the number of services that you get. So let's talk a little bit about how this journey started. Like I said, about 2017, there's a city I'm sure you guys heard of called Sun Prairie. Sun Prairie, as a community, was thinking about building their own fiber network. But soon they realized how expensive it is. And the fiber is very expensive. And how long it would take actually, you know, for the city to get that money to kind of really build and operate that type of network. So it was kind of a perfect storm for TDS because when we came in, we actually went in, saw the opportunity. What we did is we bought all the assets from Sun Prairie. We made them whole. And then within about 16 months, we were able to have them up and running. And at that time, Frontier was their phone company and Spectrum was their only internet provider. And so people, you know, like I said, competition is good. It allowed people, when they saw our product come in, again, we start seeing that 50% take rate. It may even been higher in Sun Prairie. So we did it really, really well. And so all the metrics that our senior leadership looks at to determine whether we want to continue this type of build or this type of deployment, they checked off all the boxes. And so therefore, this is where we are today. And so when we talk about benefits, obviously we know the technology, we understand fiber and its speed, but really some of the things that people don't know is that fiber actually increases your home value about 3%. And then the other thing we like to say is called future proof, meaning that once we come in and install that cabinet that we talked about on that easement where all the electronics are inside and we push them out to the neighborhoods we're building, if say 10 years from now, faster speeds are required. All we know is not about disruption. It's not about digging into the ground anymore. It's not about hanging anything aerial. It's more now about just going into that cabinet, taking out and putting in new, obviously being able to increase those speeds. And the speeds that we have right now for residents up to 8 gigs, which 8 gigs is pretty fast, if you know about fiber.
If I, Chair, I'm just looking ahead. This is like a really long deck and it's a great presentation. But I would just kind of encourage the chair to maybe ask questions, get the information. So we,
Sure.
Otherwise, this meeting, we do have a lot of
Yeah,
bulky agenda.
I'll go through.
We're doing great. I think it's great information. But maybe
Okay.
we could just,
Yeah.
again, it's chair's discretion. But.
Okay. You guys tell me, you stop me, slow me down. I can, you know, kind of go through what we need to do here.
Well, I read through all the documents that you sent.
Okay.
It kind of caught me off guard, quite frankly, a little bit.
Okay.
The reason why that is we switched over about 8 months ago to T-Mobile 5G.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super happy, we're super happy with it. It's all wireless.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking this is the future, being totally wireless. The TVs, everything is working just perfectly fine. And maybe because I live in a stronger area in Williams Bay, not every area in Williams Bay probably has the same strength with 5G. So I can see where this benefits for people that don't want 5G. It would be another competitor to Spectrum, most likely. That's the main one here. And how long would it take you to put this in place?
So I think we're targeting probably a little bit over maybe 1,200 or 1,300 serviceable addresses typically, and I'm not an engineer, but Sean is more in line with that. So we're looking at probably starting around April. We've identified a contractor to come in, but we have not engineered the entire market. So if you know, roughly speaking, I would think it would take about 2 years maybe.
With the population of this community, I think we can be done with major construction by Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to come back in the spring and do restoration.
Yeah, so there are potential savings for residents here.
Right.
Right?
Or those of us that don't have 5G service.
Yeah.
Missing a point. When you bring that in, homes that have cable are gonna have to put in additional wiring or not?
So what'll happen is when they make drops, just like anything, we will make the drop from the box, the pad that sits out, and then we will obviously then connect it to the home. So it's fiber to the home.
Right, but then the people have to, if they want fiber at home, they have to put in their own fiber.
Well, no, we're gonna put that in. We're gonna bring that all to, you don't.
Okay, so let's go through this. So you're gonna bring fiber down the street,
Hang on for a second. Oh, last question.
you're gonna go fiber down the street. You're then gonna tap off your fiber and come and put it to a point of presence on the house.
Yes.
Okay, so now you have a distribution box in the house.
Yes.
Now, as a homeowner, like right now, I've got cable in my house. So I'm going from my point of presence in my house to my office in the bedroom. So that's where Spectrum brings the modem, okay? So how do I get from your point of presence to my, or replacement of the modem Spectrum? So that's either gotta be, you have to transition that from
We're gonna give you.
fiber to
We're gonna
fiber
give
to
you
coax.
both. The fiber is coming through to your home, right?
Right.
We're gonna give you the box and everything that's required. And through that, that's how you're pulling your fiber. So from the bed to the home, into your, wherever that box is. And then that will go into.
Okay, so who's gonna pull that from your point of presence on the house to my point of presence within my house?
Our installers, sorry.
Okay, are you gonna eat that cost or is the
No,
homeowner?
that's all us.
That's all on us.
Rob.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Rob,
you're gonna
take
give
a
me,
moment,
you're
take
gonna,
a
no, you're gonna give me a full,
All right, sorry. I realize Rob is chairing this section of the meeting, but I am still chairing the entirety of the meeting. I just want to pull us back to order here. This is not a public forum. This is just voting at the committee level for the easement right. The village board would still need to see this again, and there can be communication between the company and citizens at that time, but that's not what we're doing here this evening. So, sorry I had to take control for you, Rob,
Thank you for
but
coming down, and it is an interesting subject. Okay, thank you. So I think we have a first and second one. Did we do it? Did we do it?
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay, all in favor for the motion?
I don't think a motion was made.
No? I thought
Yes,
we
you
made a
have a
motion.
motion. You have a motion.
I have a motion, I made a motion.
Yeah.
And you have a
Seconded.
second.
Oh, yeah, there is. I apologize. There is.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, so we'll move on. Okay.
thank you, sir. I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
Oh, no problem.
We're getting off track there.
Next item on the list is item D, discussion and possible action on change order number 3 for Water Well Solutions Group for well 2 pump replacement. Okay, so that's a little misleading, so basically I want to go over this real quick. Well 1 and 2, well 2 and 3, I should say, were bid at the same time. Well 2 is totally finished, except for one item that Adling is gonna do, and that comes out of, it doesn't come from borrowed funds, from the operating funds. And that is, finished, and it's, $221,000. Well, number 3 started out, well, number 3 was, is where we get 85% of the water for well number 3. That pump was refurbished in 2007. And so it's time for, we talked about refurbishing it again. And then we decided we don't want to refurbish a refurbished pump. We go for the extra $20,000 and we replace the pump. And then Doug Snyder's first estimate before the tariffs took effect was $120,000. There has not been any other discussion on it really. So basically, well number 3 is going to cost now $165,000. That is because there's a couple other things that need to get done, I understand. And also because of the tariffs, raised the price of the pump more over what you originally estimated. Correct? So, any questions on that?
I have a question. So is 20 years about the timeframe for a refurbished pump? So you said 2017 and.
2007.
2007 rather, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so, now we're at 19 years, so is that about the timeframe that you would expect for one? of these
For
pumps?
this type of pump, yes. For the pump you just put in well 2, I only expect it to last less than 10 years. It's higher speed, it's basically a throwaway motor, but it's a lot cheaper than one like this.
And we could refurbish that pump.
The one that we're putting in right now in well 3, it can be refurbished, yes.
That's the higher quality
It's the lower RPM,
or lower RPM.
they're shafting, it's a totally different pump. So the motor is above ground on well 3. On well 2, the motor is at the very bottom of the pump, under the water. And just one point of clarification, Rob, all this well 3 stuff, I'm change ordering it onto well 2 so that I can fall under the contract provisions for well 2. That way you're not signing something from the contractor as far as a contract document.
Yeah, it's a little confusing that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so do you want me to, approve this, make a motion to approve this as a change order?
It's a change order for the well 3 pump on the well 2 contract.
Okay, for $165,000.
Yes.
So I'll make that motion to approve the change order for well 2 for well 3 for $165,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, you second that, Steve? Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it all.
Okay. All right, so we got the first, second, any
It took a
questions?
minute for me to figure out how well 3 was on well 2, but
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but anyway. Okay, we're first and the second, no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that one, goes forward. Number E, discussion of possible action on borrowed funds arbitrage report 2025 and assigning an amount totaling $374,272 as borrowed funds arbitrage. Committed funds, water fund is $173,808,881. And the sewer fund is $87,308. So basically what that is all about, for the people in the audience here, the bottom line is if you borrow funds and you make more interest than what you're paying, so in other words, you're making you're making interest money on the funds that you're not spent right away, then the government says you gotta pay it back. So this gets recalculated, we don't have to do anything here now. Next October, 2026, it gets recalculated. We have a company for that, so, is that something we have to make a motion to approve, Dave?
Yes, please.
Yes. So I'll make a motion to approve the, borrowed arbitrage fund report, totaling $374,202. Second?
I'll second 200, yeah,
Okay,
$174,272.
right, a first and a second. Any questions, Steve?
No.
No, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so all carried. And then the next one is the village engineers report.
This should go fairly quick. On the State Highway 67 east-west section, we're still waiting for the state to send out the state municipal agreement, the revised one. The water plant, Lomar, the flood map revision, FEMA came out with the second request of information for Sewer Pack. Sewer Pack has 60 days to respond. Talking to Sewer Pack, they see no issue from it, it's just more detail is all. No problem, according to them. The water plant improvement, the DNR inspection is January 20th. The painting continues, the place is a mess right now, but We needed to wait with the painting because of all the sweating that the pipe does. In the winter, the pipe doesn't sweat so that we can paint it. So we waited with the painting until the end of the project.
Did we pay for it already?
Pardon me?
Did we pay for that already, the painting?
You're paying for it in the progress payment. It's part of the bid, yes.
Okay.
You're not gonna pay extra for them to
That's what I'm-
paint it later.
Yeah, okay.
The preserve, I haven't seen anything from an engineering standpoint lately. Sanitary sewer replacements, we need to walk the job with Wayne. There's, some decks and stuff that are within easements, and we wanna replace the pipe in the easement. So it might require some, modifications to the home, or we may need to make some tough decisions.
I'm sorry, which project are you talking about?
This is the sewer replacement from basically
Oh, gotcha.
Pier 290 to the fire station.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong item.
So I want to quantify the issues. We're going to walk it hopefully yet this week with Wayne, and we'll have it in front of you next month, one way or another.
But so we're not gonna bid it then?
I still plan on bidding it. I
Okay.
want to, at least walking with Wayne, at least be able to get pricing in. Right now is the time to get pricing. So even if we need to write a change order later, if we can't get anywhere for the property owner, at least we have a price and we'll hold the bid for 90 days. And the second last one is Navilio. We did review a plan across from the Green Grocer and slapped it back at them. And the last one is Bailey Estates Phase 6. Phase 6, the sewer construction is nearly complete. Water main hasn't started, and I don't expect them to do the water main until spring. Phase 7 has not started yet. They're just trying to get permits for it.
Can I ask, regarding, Tony Navillo's development west of Green Grocer, you mentioned in your write-up, possible soil contamination?
Well, they're right, just to the west of there is the Frosty Moose.
Yeah.
And that's where the
Used to be gas station.
fuel, yeah, the gas station, that, there's been a history there.
Hasn't been remediated.
I don't believe it's been, I think they have to check each site out for remediation. So as part of this site development, I believe they're gonna need to do soil testing. And they're gonna have to isolate where they actually work. So it's gonna impact whatever goes in front of planning commission. And I want them to do the homework up front so that there's no surprises after planning commission.
Do you have, is there anything to the rumor or speculation or whatever it is that there used to be a thermometer factory on that site?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one yet.
I've heard it from a few different people. And I'm just curious, you know, Mercury being part of that process too, if there's more to that.
They will detect it when they do their phase studies.
Can I open a can of worms, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question, simple one. On the east-west section,
Yeah.
Did the state find the Department of Transportation, find from the consulting engineer?
I don't know if they've hired one yet or not. I'm willing to bet they have. I just haven't paid any attention.
We took it off the report because it was on the last time.
It was on there last time because it should be done. But that should be coming as part of the submittal to you in the future.
Okay.
They'll have that person or that consulting firm.
Is it too late in the process to do a traffic study down at the intersection of Highway 67 where it bends to become, you know, goes from being Elkhorn Road to being West Geneva Street? I was just looking at the Business Association surveys from a couple of years ago. There's a lot of people that mention how dangerous that is and could
I can put the request in.
would it be too late to do that?
It's never too late to put a request in.
Doug, a question, if I may, on the redo of the water plant and the installation of the chlorination process and so on. What's our testing protocol now for water testing?
Wayne, help me. In addition to what you did before, you also need to test for ammonia leaving the plant.
Yes, ammonia at the plant and nitrates at the plant
Okay.
and in the distribution system.
We are doing testing in the distribution system?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I can't, I'm not gonna look, I have it in here exactly. So the testing is controlled by the DNR.
Well, but they only require,
Now they require a boatload of stuff, and we send the samples in, all the test results go to the DNR, and the DNR engineer looks at all this stuff. So, Wayne, it's a lot, it's a long list of all the stuff we test for. And
Yes
we're
and no.
willing to make a distribution on it. It's also publicly available on the PSC or on the DNR website.
Correct, but the ammonia and the nitrites in the system are not required.
That's not required, right, but all the testing that we do a lot of testing.
well, I would just, I still get a lot of questions about our water. And anything we can do to to publicize the fact that the water is fine would be very helpful.
The test results are on the village website.
But they're hard, it's hard to find. We still gotta work on that a little bit.
Yeah, anyway,
It's not easy to find it. We'll work on
as long
it.
as we're still testing.
Any other questions for Doug?
I just want to say, thanks for adding those no change labels that were requested by someone
Yeah.
up here last meeting. Helps with the reading.
Okay.
Were they sufficient? I think it might have been.
Yeah,
Trustee
I
Francis.
asked for it. It's very,
Okay.
very helpful.
All right, yes. Thank you for that quick response to that, Doug.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. First and second, all in favor? We are adjourned.
All right, thank you, Trustee Umans. Next up will be our Building and Zoning and Ordinance Committee. Trustee Franzen, please.
Thank you, President Jaramillo. Calling the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee to order with trustees Franzen and Russell present. Trustee Block is absent. We have 6 items on the agenda for this evening. The first 2 relate to the tourist rooming houses and the short-term rentals. I have invited Allison Schwark, our code enforcement officer, to spend a few moments explaining to us what some of the challenges are with the current ordinance and why some of these proposed changes would be a benefit to the village. Allison?
Yes, thank you. So trustee Brandon and I, along with Dave and Mark, met quite a few times to go over our current ordinances on short-term rentals and tourist rooming house requirements here in the village. And I guess one of the biggest problems that we're having with our current ordinance without any modifications to the ordinance is just actually enforcing our requirements. Right now, we don't have really any penalties set up within our ordinance to help me enforce somebody who's actually violating the ordinance.
Allison,
So,
excuse me, can you distinguish between tourist rooming houses and short-term rentals?
Yeah.
Because we're at 2 different categories of properties here.
yeah, sure.
Thank
So we have two different license applications. One of them is our tourist rooming house license, and that is something that you can apply for if you are within a certain zoning district of the village. It is the shorter stays, so stays between 1 and 6 days,
Right.
and only allowed by conditional use permit. The village only offers 15 of those licenses, and I believe all 15 are full currently. And then we have our our short-term rental ordinance, and that is our longer stays, our stays between 6 and 29 consecutive days. Those are applications that we don't have a cap on. You can apply to have a short-term rental license in any zoning district. And you apply through the software system we use called Host Compliance. That's helpful. But yeah, so we worked on some ordinance modifications in both sections. A lot of the modifications made were geared towards those penalties and a little bit, I would say, more strict requirements in certain aspects to help with an organized and standardized way of enforcement. And then a couple of other things that we added into the ordinance was to help make the ordinance a little bit clearer and more concise, so that the rules and regulations for short-term rentals are very clear. We compared our ordinances to several surrounding communities ordinances, and I feel like we did a good job of making sure that our ordinance was similar in nature to surrounding communities. So we're not an outlier by any means. We're not going to be making this ordinance go into effect that's, completely far out and way different than any other way a different municipality enforces short-term rentals. It's very similar to the city of Lake Geneva's ordinance. It's very similar to the village of Fontana's ordinance, both of which I enforce as well. So we worked on it for quite a bit. I think we came up with some really good things. One of the things that the ordinance will change and that will go into effect is that we'll be completing systemized inspections of rental properties so we can confirm that they're safe and habitable for individuals to rent and stay in. So we'll check for safety items like smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers. We'll make sure that individuals are not putting extra beds in the basement where there's no exits and that sort of thing. We'll make sure that the rules and regulations of the short-term rental are listed clearly in the short-term rental. And those inspections will be on an annual basis. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Allison, this is Steve. How many short-term rentals are licensed in the village?
Oh gosh, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head.
It's about 25
Yeah, that sounds about right.
that are
It's
licensed.
under 50, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, on short-term rental, I read through all the stuff multiple times now. You have to be a resident for a short-term rental in order to do that for 30 days or something like that.
So I believe the way that our current short-term rental ordinance is written is you have to own the property in the village
You have to do that
and
too.
you have to have a designated operator within a certain mile radius of the property. So if your full-time residence is somewhere in Chicago that's outside of that radius, you would have to use a property management company.
Okay.
Yeah.
As part of that inspection, I guess at that time, would you be making your determination of how many that rental property can sleep safely? And then would that number be written down and then compared to how it's being advertised?
Yep, so that occupancy load was something that we focused on. We more clearly defined it in these ordinance changes that you see before you this evening. But yes, it's also something that I double check for when I do the inspection, to make sure that that number is accurate and safe.
And then, if they're advertising beyond that number, is that gonna be considered a violation
Exactly.
for the way this ordinance is, written?
Yes, so whatever their occupancy load is granted at, that's their maximum occupancy, and if they're caught advertising over that, or if we find that, if I request their guest list and I find that they're over occupancy at any given time, that's considered to be a violation, and the new ordinance would be set up so that I could issue a penalty or a fine for that violation, keep track of that violation, and if that violation is continuously repeated, then we can discuss like a revocation of the permit at a certain time.
That was my question, thank you.
I think our biggest problem is that these short-term rentals, which are supposed to be for 7 days, between 7 and 30, and instead what they're doing is they're just doing it for 2 or 3. Anything that we can do, I mean, short of going and just seeing if anyone's there, is there any way that we have to
Yeah, so that's something that we really took a really good look at during this ordinance rewrite, because we needed a way to kind of help enforce that, because that is one of the biggest problems that I see. And it's really unfortunate because I have a lot of individuals who have worked really hard to maintain a valid short-term rental or a tourist rooming house. For those that have active and valid tourist rooming house license, you know, they paid the money, they went through the conditional use permit process, and yet it seems like there are other people who haven't gone through that process or can't go through that process, and they're still treating their short-term rental as if they're a tourist rooming house. So it's not fair to those that hold that license and applied for it properly. And so that is one of the main violations I see currently. And the way that our ordinance is written, there's not a lot that I can do about it currently. It's really hard to enforce. So one of the things that we did in the new ordinance is we put some verbiage in there about myself or another staff member being able to request their guest list at any time. And they have to turn that information over. Otherwise, I can automatically cite them for not giving me that information and turning it over. But at that point, they have to tell us when the property was booked. And if that booking was only 2 to 3 days and their registry shows that, then we can go ahead and automatically issue them a penalty for renting too short of a time frame. Right now, we don't have anything in our ordinance that allows us to do that. So unless I have some really good, hard, solid proof, there's nothing I can do. That's how the code in the city of Lake Geneva is written, and I can tell you that it's working very well. There are several property owners in the city of Lake Geneva that previously were violating that consecutive night stay. And this year, once they changed their ordinance and allowed me to enforce that, there were several homes where I was able to ask for that information. They provided that information. It showed that they were not following the ordinance regulations in terms of that, and they were all fined.
And then, so we're pretty much relying on neighbors to report.
Definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's difficult in a small town like this for, to have that kind of animosity, in a neighborhood like that. So it's,
Yeah, definitely. It's hard with short-term rentals because it's, not something that I can consistently monitor all the time. So it is a really complaint-based situation, but the village does have a complaint hotline where you can submit an anonymous complaint. I don't think have to provide your information. You can just leave a note. Residents, if they're having concerns about short-term rentals, they can email me, they can stop in and see me, and then I can further monitor that short-term rental to ensure compliance. But until I'm made aware of the situation, like noise or lighting or, parties or parking, those sorts of things, it's hard for me to enforce until I'm made aware of the situation.
this host compliance, do they check, like, say, for example, advertising on the different social media because some of these places are literally advertising just for 2 or 3 nights, so is host compliance checking for, how does that work?
Yeah.
That does it?
So the system we use, Host Compliance, they do monitor for short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs. But unfortunately, one of the drawbacks to the system is they don't monitor social media. And there's very few software systems that you can utilize for short-term rentals. There's Host Compliance, there's a system called Avenue, and then there's a system called Deckard. Those are the top 3 companies that I'm aware of at this point, and unfortunately, none of them monitor social media. They only monitor the platforms online, so like Expedia, Airbnb, VRBO, but they do monitor them, and then they flag them to me when they're found non-compliant or, not licensed. And then I'm able to send a violation letter.
Yes.
Any other questions for Evelyn?
It seems to me that Williams Bay is somewhat unique in that we have this tourist rooming house category. And it seems in looking at these drafts that we've applied the same rigor of compliance to tourist rooming houses, which are strictly limited to 15 in the village, and the conditional use permit, which the village has the right to withdraw. We've applied the same restrictions to a fairly small, very specific universe of tourist rooming houses that Williams Bay has. And we've taken the issue of short-term rentals and I applaud the efforts to try and regulate that better, but it seems to me that the application of those requirements to tourist rooming houses is a bit excessive.
I feel like they're very similar in nature. I don't think it's unlike any other community. So the Village of Fontana has 2 licenses as well. The City of Lake Geneva has 2 licenses as well.
2 licenses for what? Tell me those categories.
The only difference between, so the Village of Fontana also has a license that's by conditional use permit only in certain zoning districts and,
For stays of,
for stays of 1 to 6 days.
okay,
And the general requirements for, those licenses are the same as well. They're held to the same standard. They're held to ensure safety, that the occupancy load is not violated, that there's, no raging parties going on at all hours of the night. And typically when you have properties that are rented for shorter time frames, that's when you're gonna get that. That's when you're gonna get those rowdy, kind of stays because they're only here for the weekend. And so I definitely think that they should be held to the same standard as short-term.
but we've had no
rentals in that
complaints,
regard.
to the best of my knowledge, about tourist rooming houses.
I'm not sure how many exact complaints we've received. Not any recently, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then another question, I guess, is on this whole notion of this guest registry. I assume that's legally allowable for us to collect and have that somewhat
It is,
proprietary,
yes.
somewhat private information?
Yes, and Mark has also reviewed these ordinance, rewrites as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Allison?
Just one comment. You and Susan spent a ton of time on all of this, and Susan once had an Excel spreadsheet or however you did that. What we have today, what all the other communities, how they have it, and what we're bringing ours up to. And I thought that was tremendously helpful for me to quickly understand where we're going with all of this stuff.
Thank you.
But that was not one of the attachments.
No, not at this time. We took that spreadsheet and met with Dave and Attorney Schroeder and developed these red line documents.
Yeah, but that one just is a quick, easy to understand for me, overview.
Thank you.
One last thing from me. This came up on Saturday. I know Mary and Susan heard this, and the resident that mentioned it is here today. We have short-term rental owners kind of doing it what you would call the right way, and they live in their house. They're not a company that owns multiple properties, and they're not getting violations. And there was some concern that we're raising the fees across the board, and in a sense, the people following the rules are going to be subsidizing our policing of the people that aren't following the rules. I guess it's kind of how it works in anything, right? I mean, that's how any kind of policing budget works: is people that follow the rules pay the taxes, people that don't. But an idea was bounced around, and I'm not sure, but maybe some kind of compliance credit or rebate system where if you are compliant, and had no violations for for 2 years or something, that maybe your fees go down. So just an idea that it was the first I had heard the idea, and I thought it made sense, but I just wanted to throw that out there and see what other trustees thought about it.
So if I go 25 miles an hour all year long, the 25 mile per hour speed limit, do I get a check from the village at the end of the year?
Yeah, no, exactly. So, that's why I acknowledge that's kind of the tragedy of the commons that all enforcement is kind of subject to. So maybe, in a perfect world, wouldn't you?
Your insurance company would appreciate it.
Yeah, well, your insurance goes down. That's true.
Yeah, I did some research on that compliance credit and did not find anything in the state or outside the state that offered anything like that.
I read something in the newspaper about Lake Geneva was debating that.
Okay,
And were advised that it was not allowable.
don't go down that road, is what, yeah, okay. All right,
Yeah, I've not heard of that in any other community.
fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Yeah,
Yes.
to both, and the chair too, yeah.
Thank you. So, the intent of these was really to kind of balance the rights of the property owner with the village's need for room tax revenue, and then maintaining the culture of the community, trying to reduce the spring break type behaviors that Allison kind of referred to of the party houses, and ensure compliance with our ordinances. And then have consistency across the tourist rooming house and the short-term rentals, so that when it comes to enforcement, we don't have to say, oh, well, this is a tourist rooming house, so it gets processed this way. It's a short-term rental, it gets processed that way. It's a consistent approach. So that was kind of the overview for those two items. I would like to go to item C, discussion and possible action on amending chapter 390 zoning article 3 land use regulations and 390-0310M tourist rooming house, including fees, enforcement, and penalties. And so this is just for background on these changes. So some of the significant changes, in addition to what Allison has mentioned, is advertising requirements. So having a village tourist rooming house license number included in all advertisements, so that it makes it easier to tell what is licensed and what is not licensed. The designated operator we have within 30 miles, no outdoor events, parties, gatherings, or celebrations. We've also had a lot of complaints about how many vehicles parking on the street, too many vehicles in driveways. So we're recommending no more than one vehicle per bedroom, no parking permitted on lawns, with a minimum of one space per each bedroom of off-street parking required. Solid waste disposal, so making the solid waste disposal compliant with our village ordinance, so that short-term rentals are required to do what all the other residents are required to do, and we don't have green bins sitting out for weeks on end. Guest registry, as she mentioned, so submitting a quarterly guest registry to the clerk with certification by the property owner of compliance, property rules posted near the front door and given to property owners within 500 feet of the tourist rooming house property. Proof of valid state Wisconsin tourist rooming house license, a copy of the Wisconsin Department of Revenue seller's permit provided with the license application and maintain current. Insurance, all proof of insurance, property and liability required with the initial license application and on renewal. A mandatory building and fire inspection report showing compliance. And the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee members recommended also a Knox box be installed for emergency entry by fire and police. License renewal application fees, Allison requested that we move these to 45 days before the license expires instead of 30 to give more time for processing, with a late fee imposed or assessed for anything submitted after the 45-day deadline. And then I think the most significant change, as she referenced, is penalties for violations. So we did not have penalties in this ordinance. So operating without a license is a $1,000 forfeiture plus all past due room taxes for prior rentals if not yet paid. Each day of operation without a license constitutes a separate offense. Major violations are identified, things like rental marketing that doesn't include the license number or falsely advertises the property. So this would be saying that there's more, it sleeps more people than they're allowed to sleep. No designated operator within 30 miles, failure to display the license number or pay room tax, failure to pay annual license fees, failure to report rentals from all forms of advertising in conjunction with room tax, having another rental arrive during another guest's rental period, or any illegal activity on the property. So penalties would be a $250 forfeiture per day of violation for the first offense, a $500 forfeiture per day of violation for a second offense, and then a third offense would be a $1,000 forfeiture per day of violation plus, and these are all plus court costs, and permanent revocation of license with no future ability to obtain a license for the property. So originally, we had recommended 4 offenses before potential revocation, and the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee members recommended that we go to the third offense. We stopped there. We added a reinspection fee after major violations. We identified what minor violations were, such as noise complaints, disruptive behavior by occupants, leaving the garbage cans out too long, not complying with the village's ordinance on solid waste disposal, or law enforcement intervention, with the first 2 minor violations within a 12-month period being upgraded to constitute a major violation, and each additional minor violation within the same 12-month period constituting an additional major violation. So we felt this gave the ordinance some teeth. It provides a clear path for Allison to enforce as needed without having to figure out what to cite and being able to move that forward. So that's the background on the tourist rooming house potential ordinance changes. So are there any questions from the committee members? Steve, Trustee Russell.
No, he said it didn't have any. So.
He said it didn't have any, okay.
Basically.
Any questions from any of the other board members?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to move to recommend approval of amending Chapter 390 zoning Article 3 land use regulations and 390-0310M tourist rooming house, including fees, enforcement, and penalties. So this would be a recommendation to the village board. Do I have a second?
Yeah, second, Susan.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It carries. So the next step is a recommendation to the village board. Prior to that, I am going to be meeting with additional property owners and with the chief of police to talk through everything and just make sure that we're all aligned on that. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is discussion.
And Susan, if I can just interrupt for a second here?
Yes.
Thank you. And just because it's a zoning ordinance here, before it can be approved, it'll need to go through the plan commission with a public hearing before the ordinance is approved by the village board.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll go to the plan commission. Okay, item D is discussion and possible action on amending ordinance Chapter 205, Housing Standards and Rental Property, Article 3, Short-Term Rental of Residential Dwellings, including fees, enforcement, and penalties. So these are the 7 to 29 days or 7 to 30 days. And the changes are very similar. So requiring the licenses, parking, solid waste, guest registry, insurance, property rules, applications, annual inspections, and then the penalties. So again, consistency was important so that we didn't have to question what we were trying to change. So any questions by Trustee Russell?
I don't have any.
Any questions by any other board members? All right, so I'll move to recommend approval of amending ordinance Chapter 205, Housing Standards and Rental Property, Article 3, Short-Term Rental of Residential Dwellings, including fees, enforcement, and penalties. You have a second?
I'll second
Okay, all those in favor?
it. Did you get my second?
Yes, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So then that recommendation will also go to the Plan Commission. Okay. Moving on to item E, discussion and possible action on renewal of the code enforcement services contract between the Village of Williams Bay and Municipal Code Enforcement. In April of '21, the village entered into an agreement with Municipal Code Enforcement. The contract has been updated and amended from time to time and recently expired. The draft agreement provides for a one-year renewal of the contract that will automatically renew unless either party provides the required notice. Village Attorney Mark Schroeder reviewed the draft contract and had no legal concerns, and noted some changes, including increasing the number of hours and the rate. So increasing up to 25 hours and $52 an hour. There's a 3% increase in fees each year of the contract. This is consistent with the increased 2026 village budget for enforcement, which increased the hours to a maximum of 25 hours per week versus the 15 hours that was there. So I'll make a motion to recommend renewal of the code enforcement services contract between the Village of Williams Bay and Municipal Code Enforcement. Get a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that will go to the Finance and Personnel Committee. And then item F is discussion and possible action on an ordinance amending 46-11A and B of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Williams Bay concerning room tax, replacing the term gross receipts with a percentage of the sales price to be consistent with statutory changes. So in preparing the draft ordinance for the Williams Bay Tourism Commission, which is also on the agenda for tonight, our village attorney noted that the Wisconsin statutes replaced the term gross receipts with a percentage of sales price. So the enclosed draft ordinance amends the current village code, replacing gross receipts. So I did some additional research on this. In 2009, Wisconsin joined the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement, and which at the time replaced the term gross receipts with a percentage of sales price. However, that didn't, the language, bringing everything up to the same language was not really an issue at that time. Within the last year, it has been recommended by the state that all municipalities adjust their language to match this. So I think we're doing this at the right time. And then I did a sample calculation. So there was a benefit to the village doing this, having the gross receipts, but it's really not significant. So $100 a night room tax, the room tax is based off of the gross receipts, which would be the room fee plus taxes. And under the percentage of sales price, it removes the state taxes before the room tax is calculated. So it does make a little bit of a difference, but it's not significant.
That is, if you could find $100 a night room.
Well, true. But it's easy to do it off of $100 a night. Yeah, so the difference is under gross receipts, for a $100 room, the tax is allocated or determined off of $105 with the state tax, and then without the state tax, it's based off of $100. So it's a difference of basically $5. So I move to recommend approval of an ordinance amending 4611A and B of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Williams Bay concerning room tax, replacing the term gross receipts with a percentage of the sales price to be consistent with statutory changes. I have a second.
Yeah, second, Russell.
All those in favor?
It's just a quick question if I can, Susan. On page 2, it defines a short-term rental as a fee for fewer than 30 consecutive days. Shouldn't that be more than 6, but fewer than 30?
Mark?
No, because that's the statutory definition of short-term rental, and a room, you had asked about that before, and a tourist rooming house is a category of short-term rental.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
So, no, it's a good question because it's very confusing in reading through the statute, but that's how it makes sense, is that it's a subset of short-term rental, as that the village has additional authority over, is 1 to 6.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Wright. Any other questions?
I would just add that this is removing basically a fee on a tax or a tax on a tax. And I think
Yes.
that philosophically, I think that's the correct thing to do is not to get taxed on the tax that you're paying, so.
Great. Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, that will be considered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Item G is discussion of possible action on an ordinance creating section 12-14 of the Code of Ordinances concerning the Tourism Commission and establishing a Village of Williams Bay Tourism Commission. There is a draft Tourism Commission ordinance intended as a starting point for discussion and direction by committees. Much of the ordinance provisions are prescribed by statute, but including the specific examples of eligible projects was added to provide clear guidance on future funding considerations. So I will make a motion recommending approval of an ordinance creating section 12-14 of the Code of Ordinances concerning Tourism Commission, establishing a Village of Williams Bay Tourism Commission. Any of the second? So trustee Russell, do you have any questions or comments on this?
Oh, who had participation in developing the ordinance?
This was really,
No, Dave.
this is Dave Letts. It was primarily an effort between myself and Attorney Schrader.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that Attorney Schrader was involved.
Yes.
Any other questions, trustee Russell?
No.
Okay. I have some questions. So currently, the Williams Bay Business Association receives the 70% of tourist room tax. What happens to the current WBBA funding with the Tourist Commission? Was there thought given to that?
So I will answer that as best I can. This is the conversation that Mark and I had Attorney Schrader and I had last week. And it's complicated and therefore confusing, at least to me. But there's the Tourism Commission, and then there's the tourism entity. The Tourism Commission is what is before the committee this evening for consideration. The Tourism Commission will act as a board of directors similar to what the village board acts with other commissions, and will make decisions on establishing who the entity or entities is or are. The WBBA could, and I would expect would be at least a potential beneficiary of funding through the Tourism Commission. They could also act as the tourism entity, or at least be considered for that. But those decisions would be made by the Tourism Commission when it's established.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think the framework, at least as I understand it from the discussion with Attorney Schrader, is, I had some of the same sort of questions that you had as we worked through this. Who is this tourism entity and how is this ultimately going to work?
Right.
And as best I can describe it, this is the first step to defining that, but it's not the step at which all of those answers or questions can be answered.
Thank you.
Attorney Schrader, is that a fair representation of our discussion?
Yes, that's correct. It basically is, the Tourism Commission is established by the village board in order to basically receive the funding collect, from the room tax revenue, then it develops the criteria for how that's going to be expended. It then, through tourist entities or entity, then works through that entity to accomplish what the tourism commission wants to accomplish. That is, the tourism commission doesn't have the boots on the ground. They determine what it should be spent for and then work through the tourism entity to have it carried out. Now, of course, in this as well, there's also the restriction when it comes to a capital project that the village board needs to concur with that. But that's in general how the statute's set up for the tourism commission to work.
So the commission will be contracting to an entity or entities to actually do the work.
Yes.
Okay.
And they also may grant grants to various
Right,
organizations.
I did see that. Rob?
I have a question on the composition of the commission. It just says here in item number 1, 5 persons. Shouldn't we be more specific and say residents or, and then number 3, it says, member of the village board shall be appointed by the village president as a non-voting member. Is that one, then,
Is that 1 of 5?
yeah, is that one of the 5? If you're down to 4, you'll never,
No.
Right.
So that we need to be more specific in.
Yeah, I had similar questions as well of, who's making up that 5? Is it property owners, business owners, residents, a representative from the WBBA? And then with item 2, I also was wondering if we could add, so 1 member shall represent the village hotel and motel industry. I was wondering if we could add that member has a minimum of 2 years operational experience, so that we're getting seasoned owners versus new owners who might not really understand things within the village. And then under item 6, the commission shall report to the village board of trustees at least quarterly the purposes. I would also like to see language in there that says the impact of the money that was spent. So what did we get for that money? We might not get an ROI, but we could definitely get some kind of impact.
I have kind of a more broad question. My question is, where is this in the comprehensive plan? Where in the comprehensive plan does it say that we are going to, one of our objectives, we are going to create a tourism commission? Because I looked all the way through it and I don't find it anywhere in here. So that to me is a bigger question. And I don't think that anybody ran on this in the spring, last April, saying, one of the things I'm going to do when I'm elected to the village board is to create a tourism commission. I might be wrong about that, but I don't remember hearing that. So I'm just kind of thinking that this is something that we're talking about now, and I don't see that there's anyone in the village has asked for this to happen. And so I have a big problem with this idea in general. So I will just leave it at that. But also, there's all these other questions that you have in the document and I think there's more than the ones you've already raised, but I'm just gonna stop at that broad question. Because I don't find it. I find references, so you go to page 71 where they talk about economic development. And, they do talk, there is talk of economic development in here, but there's nowhere that it talks about it. And I just wonder how, why, where, when, so broad questions like that.
So the 10-year, can I answer this? The 10-year plan can be revised anytime.
Well, maybe we should do that first.
It's a status thing. Lake Geneva adjusts the comprehensive plan every year. They have a whole list of things.
I understand. I wish we would do that. I wish we would talk about that. I wish that, and in fact, in the appendix, it talks about exactly how you would, make those kinds of changes.
Right. So if this
And this isn't how it lays it out that we should be doing it. So there, I'm gonna stop at that. So, but I really do think that, that we need to be paying more attention to what the people in the village want.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Okay, answer a couple of questions here. One, the language of the composition is basically inherited from the state's statutes. They say 4 to 6 members. I think they landed on the number 5, so that's an odd number, so that you're not dealing with ties at everything. I think it's very clear the way it says that 5 members are appointed, the oversight from the board, so the village board ultimately approves everyone. And then the village board also puts on one of its own members to sit in on all the meetings, to not vote, so that the village board has a member in that room reporting back to us what's going on at all the meetings, so that we know. So the non-voting member is not one of those 5 members from the village board. I guess to directly respond to Mary's comment, I literally, so the room tax dollars have been very stagnant and at a certain level for years. It created uptick when Airbnb started and Vrbo started happening. With the topography preserve development coming in, that number is going to swell from somewhere like $70,000 a year to potentially up to $1 million a year. And with the opportunities of capital projects being accomplished here in the village, it was time to take that away from that, to add oversight to that process and the spending of those large hundreds of thousands of dollars, so that the village has elected officials. If you want to say residents want this, this is the way residents can get it. Residents don't vote for anyone on the WBBA. The WBBA is a completely private organization that self-governs. This way, elected officials are representing the village and representing those hundreds of thousands of dollars that are coming in and impacting the village. And so that we have the oversight over it. And I can say that, I mean, I'm sure you didn't run on it, but I still have some old campaign videos on YouTube that I can't figure out how to take down, where I literally said I have 2 goals. One is overnight EMS service in my first term, and we're working on that. We'll be talking about that later tonight. And the other is establishing this tourism commission so that those hundreds of thousands of dollars of extra added dollars are having oversight by elected officials and not just some private business owners that we don't have any control over, So instead of making it a backdoor, boys club, it's a out in front of everyone thing. So that was the genesis of this, and that's where it's been coming from. So to answer your question there.
And if I can just echo President Harriman's comments, I think it's a prudent thing to do. With the amount of money that could be in play here, or likely to be in play here, I think the prudent thing to do and the transparent thing to do is to have a designated body that's accountable and reportable to manage the use of that money.
All right, I thought of my other point. So when we're talking about tourism entities, there's actually a narrow definition in state statutes of what a tourism entity can be. One of which is that it can be the nonprofit organization that was incorporated before January 1st, 2015. So it's not like we can spin off a new tourism entity and have them take over. The WBBA is grandfathered in, and I don't know if we could even find another tourism entity in the village. So they would be involved in this process. They wouldn't have final say over the spending of the money.
Nor are they necessarily the only tourism entity.
Yeah.
The commission could contract
with others. So, and I guess talking about funding for the WBBA, they have other funding means. They obviously fundraise at some of their own events that they do, and they collect dues from the businesses that are a part of them. So the room tax that the village gives them now as our representative in this form is just part of that revenue. So that is my argument for it.
So also, under duties, so number 3, item 3, it says the tourism commission shall monitor the collection of the room tax. The commission shall report any delinquencies or inaccurate reporting to the treasurer. So this would be something that normally would be done by the treasurer. And as far as, so we were talking about the short-term rentals a little while ago with Allison, and it was kind of clear that not everybody is paying and doing what they're supposed to be doing with young things. So this would help that would assist. So we'd be sure to be getting that money. Right now, we're not really sure that everybody's paying that if they're not registered and licensed with the village. So is that what we're saying here with that? I'm asking, yeah.
So at least my take on it, Mary, is that that the establishment of the tourist commission in itself isn't going to make a difference with the collection and compliance for short-term rentals. I think in tourist rooming houses, I think that we have that issue regardless. And whether it is the commission or the treasurer that is responsible for monitoring the collection of those receipts, to me, it's more what was discussed earlier and the tactics that some of these property owners are using to skirt the regulations and laws that exist to control and limit them. I suppose the commission in its consideration of potential funding of projects and that sort of thing, if there was something that came along and said this was a way of being able to improve compliance, that might be an eligible expense. But establishing the commission in itself isn't going to, at least I don't believe, make a direct change to compliance issues.
Well, the wording says that they'll monitor and report any delinquencies or inaccurate reporting, which means they're gonna need to have some sort of mechanism.
But you need those, what's lacking are the reports. So, for example, the reports that we currently receive are very limited. And it's through the streamlining that the state has done that we don't have the ability to identify even what specific properties are included in those funds, right? So I just don't want there to be a false takeaway here that by establishment of the commission that in itself is going to solve the issues that were discussed earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I had one more comment regarding that you suggested a minimum amount of experience for the hotel motel representative. There's nothing like that in the state statute, so that would be an extra imposition that we put on as the village. I think we can all do the math in our heads here. There's only 2 hotel. I mean, so you'd kind of be setting it up so that the owner of the Bayview motel would just be default have to be on this commission.
Somebody from Preserve could be on the commission.
Well, 1 to 2 years is what, she's saying up over 2 years of service. So when it gets established and the motel here in downtown just changed owner's hands and it just opened up. And you understand that you're kind of clearing the path to make it so that we have limited options and then that's kind of, and you're adding an extra step that it's not in the state statutes. State statutes is going to require that one of those 5 commissioners is a representative of the hotel motel industry. But saying that definitely has to be a certain person, I don't think it's necessary.
No, I don't think it has to be a certain person, but I would like to see somebody who's been established in the village, at least initially, to kick this off versus somebody who has not been part of the village.
So you're not even hotel experience, but living in the village experience?
No, hotel experience in the village.
Okay. Hotel experience in the village.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's our tourism
that's
commission.
one person. There we go. Okay.
Well, we have multiple people.
I guess a short-term rental owner could be qualified for that.
They're not
They're not hotel motel,
motel.
so, yeah.
How about someone who works for the industry, just not in the village? I can think of a couple people off the top of my head that work
If we are
this area, but have been working and actually are
expressing
teaching
my
on
concern
resort
with
and management, like in business school, that live in this town. So, it's not outside the realm of possibility that they could have more than 2 years of experience and live in this town. It's not in a hotel in this town.
Yeah, if it's in other communities and contributing to this, I would, you're saying something different, but now I agree with what you're saying, yes.
Okay.
I would agree with that too.
And I do have the page open here for chapter 9, economic development. develop and implement a downtown revitalization strategy and plan, collaborate with regional, state, and federal economic development initiatives and leverage grant and stimulus money to foster implementation, continue to enforce high-quality designs for multifamily mixed-use and commercial development projects, work with local businesses and institutional uses to promote the tourism and economic growth. So there is a strategy in our comprehensive plan that we are not paying any attention to.
And I would agree, you read it just right there. You take it, work with businesses to establish a tourism. All right, and part of that plan is we're establishing a tourism commission. I think that could be read.
Well, you
And
gotta
the
read all the whole
master,
thing.
the comprehensive plan isn't.
There's nowhere in here
There's
that
nothing
says
in there
anything
about
about a
adding.
tourism commission.
No.
So, it's just not in there. So we are,
Adhering to it strictly for like zoning, I understand, and that's why we had to amend the comprehensive plan. But that's not gonna have everything in it that we're gonna experience in a decade. We have to be able to react on our own, and if we're following state statutes doing it, then state statutes is what requires the comprehensive plan.
We did talk about, you and I, we sat down and we talked about annually reviewing and assessing the plan by evaluating performance against the implementation steps and timeframe described in the implementation chapter. The review will appear on the agenda of a regular village board meeting in the late summer or early fall in advance of the budget process. So it's stated in here, the process by which we would go through. And, so we talked about Susan's matrix and how, we have things that we're working on, for the short-term rental and all of that. We could do something similar for the comprehensive plan, things that are in here that we are working on, things that haven't been started yet, and things that have been completed. And it would be really using this document in the way it's been intended. And I think since we're putting ourselves through this every 10 years, we should try to do that. Because it's hard to find people that are willing to volunteer to step up and to help us with these, write these things, if we're not going to be paying attention to what people put in it. That's all. I think that's a big sticking point for me, obviously.
So, I think that the comprehensive plan is providing strategy. I don't think it goes as in-depth as to providing the specific steps to get there. So I feel like this potential tourism commission is a how, where the comprehensive plan is a strategy of kind of why and where we want to go. So I think if led correctly, it would support the comprehensive plan, in my opinion. Sorry to disagree.
That's fine.
Okay, so do we want to make changes to any of the language in this ordinance? Trustee Russell, what are your thoughts?
I think at this point, maybe we take a step back, make a few, recommended changes and bring it back to committee 1st of February.
So I need to withdraw the motion, right, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. So I will make a motion to just withdraw. Okay, so I will withdraw the motion to recommend the approval of an ordinance creating section 12-14 of the Code of Ordinances concerning Tourism Commission, establishing a Village of Williams Bay Tourism Commission for further committee review. Can I get a second?
Yeah, so
I don't need a second. I'm gonna withdraw. Okay. Sorry, Steve. Okay, so we'll withdraw that and bring it back to committee for further conversation. Thank you, everyone, for your input. I think it's really important. Item H is our last item on the agenda, discussion of possible action on the village board draft zoning application for text amendment and conditional use permit for temporary emergency medical services EMS building in Edgewater Park, located immediately east of the Williams Bay Fire Department. So during the December 5th meeting, the village board authorized the village administrator to file applications for variance from the minimum required front yard setback and conditional use permit for a temporary EMS building to be located in Edgewater Park. This would allow our EMS to have overnight presence within the village. When preparing these applications, the village administrator determined that a better approach may be to file an application for a zoning code text amendment rather than a variation to allow village-owned leased temporary buildings to be located within the required setbacks as a conditional use permit. So the Building Zoning and Ordinance Committee is being asked to make a recommendation to the village board on the enclosed draft application for text amendment and conditional use. So information from the Fontana Fire Department indicates that the National Fire Protection Association is considered to be the most widely accepted for response times, and their requirement is that basic life support, which is EMS, first responder, or EMT, arrive on the scene in under 6 minutes, 90% of the time, and an advanced life support unit, such as a paramedic, to arrive within 8 minutes, 90% of the time. So currently, if we look at the potential travel times within Williams Bay, time from the Fontana station to the Williams Bay High School is 5 minutes. Time from the Williams Bay Fire Station is 3 minutes. Time from Fontana to 146 Clover Street, which is a large majority of our responses, is 8 minutes. And time from the Williams Bay Fire Station would be 2 minutes. 8 minutes from Fontana to the beach, 1 minute from the fire station, 5 minutes to the preserve, 4 minutes from the Williams Bay Fire Station. Cedar Point is currently 9 minutes from the Fontana Fire Station, and it would be 2 minutes from the Williams Bay Fire Station. And Lakewood Trails and Theater Road is currently 6 minutes from the Fontana Fire Station and is estimated at 3 minutes from the Williams Bay Fire Station. So thank you to Chief Mampy for providing that.
Do you mind if I just add?
Yes, please.
So that is just for the travel times.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the NFPA standards, it's from the time of dispatch to the time of arrival. So it takes the time, there is still the time for call processing at the 911 center. That usually takes 1 to 2 minutes for them to take the call, determine what the emergency is, what jurisdiction it is, and then actually dispatch the call. Then there's also the turnout time, which is the time it takes for the crews to, hear the message, get in the vehicle, start the vehicle, stop whatever they're doing. That's usually another, anywhere from 30 seconds to 1.5 minutes, depending upon if it's in the middle of the night or not. So the travel times are only a piece of that response time. The big picture is really you're adding a few extra minutes to that. From sometimes somebody actually calls 911 to the time EMS arrives. You can probably add another 2 to 3 minutes of those travel times. Now, granted, we're using lights and sirens. We can, go a little bit faster getting there, but realistically, we're really not shaving that much off by using lights and sirens because we're still traveling at a safe speed. We're still slowing down at all stop signs. So the use of lights and sirens is really a very minimal change to that.
Okay, thank you. But overall, the response times would be lower by having the EMS available overnight.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I will make a motion to recommending approval of the village board draft zoning application for text amendment and conditional use permit for temporary emergency medical services building in Edgewater Park, located immediately east of the Williams Bay Fire Department. I want to note that this text amendment is specific to property owned by the village on P&I zoned land. So it is not something that is widely available as a process. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second also.
Thank you. Any discussion? Trustee Russell, any comments or questions?
No.
Other board members, any comments or questions?
No, I just want to say about the travel time. That's averaged out over the year, but in the winter it can make it.
That's just off of Google Maps.
Yeah.
So the travel times is strictly based off of Google Maps and what they say the travel time.
Icy roads and snow, it makes a bigger difference.
Absolutely.
Or summer traffic.
I would just add, I put this in my letter in the Bay Quarterly, that when we passed the EMS referendum a couple of years ago, it was for 24-hour ambulance stationed here in the village, so taxpayers are paying for that kind of coverage. The village just couldn't hold up their end by providing the housing for the staff. And this is us rectifying that to give you the full service that you are already paying for. And I would just note that this is another zoning amendment, so it would go to Plan Commission first before it comes back to the board.
I have a first and a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So that will go to the Plan Commission. And then, yes, I'm sorry, Dave.
If I can just clarify, this will be an application that does go to the Plan Commission, but the code requires that the application come from the village
From
board.
the
So this will be a
board first.
recommendation that the village board would consider. Board approval, then it goes to the Plan.
And it's on the agenda for the board this evening.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, so that'll go to the board this evening, and then if the board approves, it will go to the Plan Commission. Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee. Can I get a second?
Second motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now adjourned. Thank you, President Jaramillo.
All right, thank you, Trustee Franzen. We do have the Finance and Personnel Committee coming up next. I just want to check with trustees. We have been going a while. Does anyone need a few minutes for a break, or do you feel good to keep going?
I'm good.
All right, it's not a question of your age or anything. Okay, so we'll go to Finance and Personnel then. Trustee Wright, please.
Thank you, President Jaramillo. I call the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. I'm here as obviously, as well as trustees Zoomans and Bartholomew, so we have the full committee here. Our first order of business is the meeting minutes from our meeting of December 16th. I would request a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion, corrections, or additions? All those in favor of approving the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting minutes from December 16th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. That's approved. Item D is the street rehabilitation project change order. I believe the Streets and Highway Committee gave direction to the village engineer, so there's nothing for us to take action on that this evening. Next item, item E, is discussion and possible action on change order number 3 for well 2, also known as well 3. Just to confuse matters, I guess, but anyway, the committee, the Water and Sewer Committee recommended approval of that. I assume that means they have the funding to pay for that. So I would entertain a motion to recommend board approval of the change order.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of recommending board approval of change order number 3 for well 2 pump replacement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We'll carry that forward to the board. Next item on our list is the easement for TDS Metrocom. I believe that is resolution R0326 to grant them an easement to put their equipment on land that's currently owned by the village.
On the village property.
I entertain a motion to recommend board approval of that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? I think we've got to discuss that.
Yeah, too long.
As you notice, the Finance Committee gets the back cleanup here on a number of things. We do have a couple items for our consideration. Next item, item G, is discussion and possible action.
We got to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor of recommending board approval of resolution R326, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. We will carry that forward to the board. Thank you. Next item deals with the room tax, the change in the ordinance amending section 4611 A and B regarding room taxes. Again, this came to us from the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee with the recommendation that we adopt these changes. And I would entertain a motion to recommend board approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of recommending board approval of ordinance amending sections 4611 A and B of the Code of Ordinances, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We'll carry that forward to the board. Thank you. That brings us to, I lost my agenda.
H. But you table H.
H.
H, which deals with the Tourism Commission, which we discussed in great detail and to good order, I think, under the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee. So we have an opportunity to take action on an ordinance creating section 12-14 concerning a tourism commission. And I would entertain a motion to recommend board approval of this ordinance.
No, it was
No,
tabled.
we tabled it
Yeah.
until
So
February.
it was with John.
Okay,
It's gonna be represented in February.
I missed that. Thank you. Moving right along. Here we have something that actually belongs to the Finance Committee. As Rob so eloquently explained earlier in the Finance and the Sewer and Water Commission, when we borrowed money, we earned greater interest than we paid on the loan. We have to pay that back. It's called arbitrage. And we have the resolution here establishing those amounts, some of which will come from the sewer fund, some of which come from the water fund, and some of which come from the general fund. So the ordinance, the resolution is R0526, established in our financial statement, $6,004, and allocates that across to the various operating funds. So I would entertain a motion to recommend board approval of resolution R05-2026.
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, whatever. Mary made the motion, Rob seconded.
Isn't he right about
Yeah,
274?
274,
Not
276.
386.
It's 374,000.
374, 272.
But the resolution has 386,004 in it. What's the right number, Dave?
Give me one moment.
I probably got it here in front of me too, but.
And to clarify, so when water and sewer are considered, this is only for the set aside related to those two funds?
Right.
For the general fund, before finance at the 113, I know it's in my materials and.
I've got the report here. It's 374, 272. But I think this resolution establishes the set aside,
Set aside amounts for now.
right?
Correct.
Okay. So the resolution R05-2026 in the fourth whereas should be 374, 272. Okay. And it also appears in the next whereas also. Okay, what do I need from a parliamentary procedure to correct the resolution? Please change it?
I think just said. Recommending, so.
Right. Then I think we have a motion, recommend board approval of resolution R05-2026. We will change the amounts before it gets to the board of trustees. All those in favor of recommending board approval of our resolution R05-2026, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carry that forward to the board. Item J, renewal of the code enforcement services contract between the Bay and the municipal enforcement commission, something.
Municipal code.
Municipal code enforcement, I know that MCE, and it's get them in the right order. Thank you, Susan. Anyhow, this comes to us from the Building, Zoning, and Ordinance Committee with a recommendation for approval. And I would entertain a motion to recommend board approval of the renewal of the code enforcement services contract to the village and municipal code enforcement.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of recommending board approval of the renewal of the agreement with code enforcement, the renewal of the code enforcement contract with municipal code enforcement, say aye. Aye, opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move that forward to the board of trustees. And then item K deals with the capital improvements plan that we've been working on for months.
Yeah.
We found today some errors in the report that was published. So there's a revised report that will come out. And my recommendation is we defer action on that to our February meeting.
Can I also, we talked a little bit about that pine tree removal, the 30,000. I did speak recently with one of our local tree experts, and they really recommend that we have an arborist look at it because he has the opinion that it's not necessary to remove that tree.
Okay.
And it's just an aside here, but in terms of that conversation, I just wanted to remind myself to mention it
thank
to you
you.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that will help.
Very valued tree.
Yes.
Wayne, do you have any perspective on the tree's health?
Sure, we have had it evaluated,
Oh, okay.
and there's a couple things that can be done, or nothing can be done. It's got a fungus, so there is treatments you can do. They're not cheap, or you just let it be and eventually remove it. I'll forward the evaluation to all you guys if you like.
Thank you. That'd be good.
The amount we included in the CIP is for removal and replacement of the tree?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought,
A big tree.
big tree.
We're talking about the one outside the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that holds the Christmas lights up.
Yes.
Yes.
Eventually it'll just be a skeleton.
Probably not what we want for our village image, but.
It's gonna fall on the library.
So we fall on the library. There you go. Better than the street, I guess. But so that would we'll defer action on that. We'll get the revised updated plan in front of everybody. It changed slightly, but it's important that we get it right for adoption. Is that what I'm supposed to do with it, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Item J. Do we have Kevin on the line, or is he gone?
I am here.
Oh, Kevin, thank you. Thank you for hanging in here. Kevin, we're at the agenda item to discuss a borrowing strategy. And even though we're not going to recommend approval of the CIP as is, we would like to give some direction on borrowing strategy, and we're looking to you for some advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for allowing me to present to you. So I guess where I'd like to start, and I'm just going to reference that capital project plan. The capital project plan envisions projects from 2026 all the way out to 2031. And it breaks those projects down into different funding sources. Some of those funding sources are revenues and grants that may be coming into the village, but most of those funding sources are borrowed funds, or many of the borrowed sources are borrowed funds. The borrowed funds are broken into revenue sources, water and sewer system supported borrowings, and then roughly half of the projects are general fund projects that would fall on the tax levy. And so what we wanted to do tonight was just talk about looking at the projects that are funded through the tax levy to build out a plan, a draft plan of how those projects could be staged and funded over time, so that you can see generally what that would do to the tax levy. And so that's where I'd like to start, if you don't mind.
I think
And
it's.
then I
I think it's
assume you have received
the three scenarios that we put together?
Yes.
Great. So let's start there. Scenario one, and Dave Lowell and I had a chance to talk about this on Friday, and I would say scenario one is not a scenario that I necessarily want to encourage you to consider, but I wanted to show it to you because I think it proves out, or it's a theorem that shows what the likely reaction to a no increased tax levy would look like. I'll describe what I mean by that. So if you look at this sheet of paper and you just start on the left-hand side, the first column of dollar numbers is your existing levy-supported debt service. And in the levy year 2025, for the payment year 2026, there were $853,000 included in your budget for a debt service levy for levy-supported general fund projects. So that's what's already there in your budget, and that was the annual payment in your budget this year. Next year, those payments are scheduled to drop to $685,000, $691,000 the following year, and you can see that they drop over time, moving out to the year 2042. Those are borrowings that you've already done, and those are the annual debt service payments associated with those borrowings. So when we looked at the capital project plan, we tried to bundle your borrowings into three separate borrowings that generally borrowed for projects that occur every other year. So beginning in the year 2026, we estimated that you would have borrowing of about $2.6 million. In 2028, we estimated that you would have a borrowing of about $2.5 million. And in 2030, we have borrowing that's estimated to be about $6.1 million. Now, based on some of the information that we received today and the adjustments that we made to the capital project plan, it's likely that that would increase to roughly $7 million. But this just gets you a general sense as to what this looks like. And so if we were to schedule out annual payments on each of those three borrowings based on an estimated interest rate of 5%, with a goal of having a minimal tax impact, or trying to keep the tax levy exactly where it is today, you'll see that we would go using the schedules provided in scenario one. If you go all the way to the very right-hand side of this schedule, it adds up principal and interest payments on those three borrowings to the existing debt. And you can see we go from your current levy of $853,312 up to about $900,000. And then it would creep up to just over $1 million. And it would stay there, roughly $900,000 out to the year 2048. But then we would have a large payment in 2049 and again a large payment in 2050. So it puts balloons out there. And it also pays on very little, almost no principal in the early years. So what that tells me is that's not sustainable, that this, that's not a realistic target. If we're going to put all three of these borrowings in place and fund those capital projects over time, that something has to give. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. So let's roll to scenario two. Scenario two changes that strategy a little bit. And what we did in scenario two was we looked at what we felt was a sustainable increase annually to get us to a plateau that is sustainable in our opinion. And so rather than keep the payment at basically $900,000, we allowed that to increase by roughly $100,000 a year. So if you look at the far right-hand column, you'll notice that the payments go from $853 in the current levy to roughly $950 the next year, $1,050,000 the year after that. And then they plateau out in the year 2034, I believe, at about $1,377,000, and then start to drop off after that. And so I think, that gives you a more sustainable path forward to fund these projects. Obviously, there has to be some give and take. We feel that that's probably generally a good trajectory to take. Any questions on that?
But this would require then a move away from what had been unspoken strategy, but a strategy of trying to maintain the debt service level at approximately the same level and letting it go to where it needs, letting it float to where it needs to go.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's correct, because, I just think you, like many municipalities, have had to shift a lot of, your capital outlay, meaning, budgeted numbers for ongoing maintenance. Revenue limits don't allow you to do that, kind of had to shift a lot of those capital projects into a borrowing plan. And so, eventually that starts to, grow. But it's really, the avenue that you have to fund these projects.
And I don't think scenario one, which is let's hold the debt levy to about $900,000, is a viable strategy.
No, if you.
We have years in which we're making no principal payments.
Yeah.
And we've got $8 million due in 2 years at the end of the plan. $8 million worth of debt service levy.
Right.
I probably won't be on the board at that point in time, but somebody will be. Anyway, so I think, Kevin, what you're saying is what the committee needs to do tonight is to decide which of these scenarios is scenario one a viable strategy or should move to scenario two?
Yeah, well, so, and I would say a different way almost, if scenario one is the strategy that you're stuck with, like if that's, the direction you want to go, then clearly you need to reduce your capital project plan significantly in order to get there.
Right.
But if you think that the capital project plan is something that is necessary and it's been well thought out and you've done a lot of work to get to that point, really, in order to implement that, scenario two is a more realistic strategy to do that.
Rob, Mary, feedback?
You want to speak to scenario 2A?
Sure. So scenario 2A is just kind of stepping off and saying, well, we don't live in a vacuum. We know that your capital needs are not going to go away after 2031. So we wanted to show what it looks like to finance $2 million every other year moving forward. And so we just added a column that shows what that looks like, an estimate of what financing $2 million a year roughly would look like annually moving forward. And so if you look at the column that's labeled future levy support and financings, that shows what layering in that type of. So if that was the direction that your capital planning took you moving forward, I just wanted to show that it establishes a plan to get to about $1.8 million and then stays there over time. So, really kind of gets us to that level. So if you think that $2 million every other year for levy supported capital projects after 2031 is too large, we could roll that back a little bit and drop that number down, but really it's more of a planning tool. And I think what's helpful here is that it allows you as the current board to kind of generally put forward a strategy, but it gives future boards, as Lowell kind of indicated, some direction and a watermark to work off of. I'm not saying that it has to be an absolute goal, but it allows future boards to say, well, this is what we planned for. Now, based on what we know, we're either growing or that target moving forward, but it gives you a target and a path.
Mary? Comments?
Thank you.
Rob?
Scenario one. I am basically most concerned about step number one, that is the first 2.5 somewhat, maybe by 6 or something. And then we'll see what happens after that. I think all of this is workable, but it's really an expensive plan. If you look at it, what we are we're paying out for the loan and then what we have to pay back. It's, I don't know, another way around it. But basically, we take this one step at a time and, we reposition ourselves again.
Yeah, the only way around it is significant, to Kevin's point, is significantly reduce the capital investments.
Yeah.
And I see Mary shaking her head, and I think the committee has agonized for hours over this list and as staff. Yeah, we could eliminate $500,000 here or there, but we're still looking across the next 5 years at $11 or $12 million worth of spending.
Yeah, well, now the list is gonna change. I manually added this up. And for 2026, for the general fund, which we're only talking about the general fund, is $1 million, $67,000.
Well, but I think the plan that Kevin and Adam laid out for us here isn't tied to specific projects. It says, they took the total capital investment and divided it into three bundles.
You're correct. Either way you look at it, is we're still gonna have to do somewhere between $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Take that.
I mean, we owe $500,000 for the new building, and it's improvements, so.
I think scenario two is just the most level, it's just it's the softest, it kind of just gives us the most gentlest kind of way forward.
Well, and I think scenario two, while it's illustrative, is premature in the sense that we don't know what the preserve will generate in terms of budget impact. And in fact, I'm hoping that by the time we start to realize we can self-fund some of our capital projects instead of borrowing.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. This is a path, but it doesn't, it's just like your capital project. It's going to continue to evolve, but at least it gives you a framework to work within moving forward, in terms of what that direction looks like. And I think maybe stepping of maintaining a kind of rigid debt service amount. If this is the capital project, generally the capital project plan that you're looking at, that has to be the mindset, because otherwise it's just not going to be addressed. So it's one or the other.
Right. Kevin, what do we need to do in the near term with respect to borrowing? Obviously, we will fund later this month the purchase of our new building out of reserves. We need to replace those.
Right.
What kind of timeline are we looking at for borrowing for the near term?
Well, I was the treasurer in the room. So one, I think, if there's a point in time over the year where like you feel like your fund balance is getting too constricted with cash flow, because you advance those funds for the new building and you need to replenish those funds with borrowed money, that might be a trigger, but I think fund balance, to kind of wait. So assuming that's the case, once you have, a good sense as to what you want to fund in 2026 and 2027 for capital projects, we'd be in a position to move forward really anytime this spring, summer. And I think, you probably want to have that money in place just because, projects start to roll forward in the early summer, in terms of, you're spending for them. So, we probably want a decision by late spring.
Okay. We'll work towards that.
Yeah.
And the other point, just for point of reference, I guess, is the village, given our municipal finances, is very cash flow positive early in the year. We collect the vast majority of our revenue early in the year. Later in the year, it becomes a little cash flow tight.
Right. So if you feel, if the treasurer feels like, we really, can't self-fund that purchase much longer, that also could be, part of the conversation. Although I do think you've got the resources to weather that for the year.
Anything else we should know, Kevin?
No, I do think that this is the hard part about capital planning, right? Making the step to that next plan. And I think you're doing the right thing in terms of considering what those options look like early and marrying it to the capital plan as well.
I just want to say something.
Please, Rob.
So we are focused on what we owe, what we have to pay back on long-term debt every year. And it's, let's say, we make it even on the 900,000. That number is harder to do every year because all the other costs are going up.
Right.
Okay. So, for example, if you look at scenario one, in 2028, we will pay back $204,000. But in scenario two, we pay back $358,000. And I have no clue where that other 150, where that money would come from.
Debt service levy.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we have to look at all of those.
My sense is, my personal sense is, we need to address the reality of the situation that says we have levy limits in terms of what we can levy as property taxes. And if we're gonna do these projects, we need to borrow the money to do them. And trying to restrict ourselves to a fixed debt service levy is what we can afford. We can't do the projects we want to do.
Yeah. Not easy.
That's right.
Okay, so we need to, as a committee, need to finalize the CIP and get board approval of that in the next month. And that'll give us a sense of what we need to borrow across the next 2 years.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So one more fine tuning.
Kevin, the thing I'd ask is when you guys have the CIP, in your computer, and you make changes to it, could you make a note as to what changed? Because I spent way too many hours of the day comparing versions, trying to figure out what was different between the two.
Sure.
Sure.
And I think we may have done that today, but I want to double check that because there are a lot of numbers there.
Yeah, there are.
Certainly this time, it's certainly, they get more confusing, so.
And I may not be color blind, but I'm color ignorant sometimes, and I have trouble distinguishing some of the colors. So, Kevin, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye, Kevin.
Which brings us to item M, discussion and action on the First Amendment to the employment agreement with our village administrator. We entered into our first agreement in January 2023, and it expires in January 2026. So this renews it. This isn't a performance review. This is just a renewal of the agreement. We're delinquent at that latter thing too, but with no changes other than, there aren't any changes, are there, Dave? No.
Just the dates.
Dates?
And then later, there's they use an initial that it says within 3 crossed out 6 months. It was like a typo in there. Do we have?
That was the original agreement,
Yeah,
there was an error included in that typo.
so that was the only other thing I saw in there that was.
So that would not change, the only thing that's changing are the years.
I would entertain a motion to recommend board approval of approving the First Amendment to the Village Administrator Employment Agreement. It's resolution R0926.
I second that one.
I've entertained a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I'll get my verbiage straight here.
Anyway,
Any further discussion? All those in favor of recommending board approval of resolution R0926, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carry that forward. We're getting there. Item N,
that's good to sell.
Cassell software. Most of the software, and Jennifer, you can help me out with this, most of the software we run has been migrated to the cloud, and we need to amend our agreement with them to pay for that. Is that right?
Correct, and it will get rid of our server that is now housed at the police department. And we are the only thing left still on the server. The police department has gotten off that server.
Okay.
Okay, good. But then there's also the $9,000
Yes, there's a $9,000 charge. Is
for
that,
all the upgrades. Okay, all that good stuff.
no, that's on the building.
Yeah.
It's on the cloud solution. What was the cost impact of this, Jennifer?
I don't have it with, you have it?
I probably have it here.
It's, annually $5,900.
We can afford that in our budget?
Well, one thing that we weren't able to extract out was the maintenance costs that we're currently spending on our server and eventually the replacement of it. I just wasn't able to get those numbers together. So
Okay.
I believe that within our budget, we'll be able to find that,
Okay.
that money.
Then I would make a motion here. To recommend board approval of resolution R1026, approving a proposal from Cassell Software and Services for Cloud Solutions. Any further discussion? All those in favor of recommending board approval of resolution R1026, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carry that forward to the board. And I think
And then we have,
we've got one more. Yes, I know. We've got the proposal from our software vendor, our systems vendor, systems manager, whatever, to make IT improvements on the building that we're buying to the tune of $9,000. Dave, I take it you've reviewed this and you're okay with it?
I'm okay with it. It is an estimate. One of the discussions that we've had internally was that the board was good enough to include the $50,000 on top of the
Right.
purchase price.
so is this part of that?
This is part of that.
Okay.
And I guess a kind of a procedural question that we had is that we were presenting this because it was a significant amount of money just from a budgetary standpoint, as much as informational, and wanting to know as we identify those expenses to be applied against the $50,000 for the new building, how would the committee want us to proceed? How would the board want us to proceed, just as we are now? I know the police department has some IT upgrades that they may be making as well. Would you like that to come back before you as well? Just looking for some direction on top of this particular item.
Well, I personally would like to see some accounting against the $50,000. In other words, we spent X at this and Y at that and Z at something else. Do we need to approve all these? I don't know. Committee input?
Well, if you look at the list, this is all stuff that is needed, obviously. And then, so the 9,000 falls into the 50.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
But subsequent requests against the $50,000, do we want to review them? Or is
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
got a question about the, it says outdoor bullet camera 4K or 2K. And then so those would be things that we need to know, like make a decision on, because the price difference, they're $70. So I guess, have you kind of decided which of those options?
No, we have not decided. This is just a kind of an outlier ballpark estimate. And wanted to share it with the committee to make sure that we weren't going in the direction that you prefer that we did. I mean, everything that's identified on there are things that we believe that we need for that building to be a functioning and safe building. Same reference what the police department is going to be needing in converting and moving over onto the administrative, what is now the administrative side of the offices. There's similar things that they'll be doing with this building.
I can't believe a bank didn't have a gazillion cameras.
It does, but so what this will do is bring the camera system in line with the system that the village already has. So we have a single system rather than having kind of a hodgepodge, I guess.
Okay, makes sense.
So then like door controller and that stuff, we're not recoding what they have then? I'm sure they have that.
They don't.
Oh, they don't?
Right.
And a bank?
They have.
It's a big vault.
Okay.
They have the traditional turnkey locks. One of the things that we're doing throughout the village is moving to having a consistent entrance, whether it's a keypad or a swipe. So during non-office hours, for example, we're swiping to come in and open the door. Programmable. It's a way for the police department to be able to monitor who's going in and out of the building. It's just part of the security.
Okay. Dave, do you want committee approval or you want board approval of these expenses?
I think committee approval would be fine. We stay within that 50,000, we provide the accounting. And as we get kind of groups or larger expenses, we'll make sure and bring those back before the committee as well.
Yeah, okay with that?
Yeah.
Mary, okay with that?
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking through the list to kind of see, so the radio link to the water plant, would that be an annual, $600 annually, or actually $1,200 annually, or would that be just like a one-time?
I believe that's a one-time, this is all hardware.
It's all hardware, but it looks like it's the, you know, radio link, so, okay.
Then I would make a motion to approve an estimate. Make it not to exceed something, Dave, not to exceed $10,000, not to exceed $9,000.
Go ahead and keep us at the 9,000.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the proposed expenses for IT upgrades to the new building, not to exceed $9,000.
Well, thanks for taking the motion, making the motion. I'll second it.
Any further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. You have approval. And with that,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you, sir.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, trustee Wright. We do not have Parks and Recreation committee meeting this evening, so now we're on the Village Board Committee of the Whole. First item, A1, is not applicable as that item did not move through committee. The next item, we have a motion of recommendation for approval of the Cassell Software and Services proposal for cloud hosted services. So that motion was from committee and does not require a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote no. That motion carries. The next, we have a motion from committee authorizing the budgetary estimate for IT improvements for the new village administrative offices. That motion came from committee, does not require a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote no. The motion carries. The next, we have a recommendation to approve the village board draft zoning application for amendment and conditional use permit for the temporary EMS building in Edgewater Park. That motion came from committee, does not require motion. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote no. That motion carries. All right, the final item we do have is go into closed sessions pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 1985, 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed sessions. This is pursuant to Canyon Development LLC Development Agreement, commonly known as the Hanson's Edition. Just want to state that no development agreement has been made available to the public. So we will not be voting on this when we come back into open sessions, but we will be discussing it now. So thank you everyone for coming. You are welcome to stay in the hallway, but you will only be missing the vote to adjourn if you do choose to leave and head home now. So, I need a motion to go into closed sessions, please.
I move that we enter into closed session pursuant to the appropriate statutes.
All right, and there's a first and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
President Carney.
Aye.
Trustee Bartholomew. Aye. Trustee Human.
Aye.
Trustee Wright.
Aye.
Trustee Franzen. Aye. Trustee Russell.
Aye.
So we're gonna end the streaming at this time. All you're missing is the motion to adjourn after the closed sessions.
You need to shut it down. You need to stick around, shut it off.